Things might get weird.
Yeah.
Welcome to our life.
Welcome back to another episode of the Hewlett House podcast. It's weird to feel unofficial, huh?
It is.
We have Coach Burrell here today with us on this.
We're so excited.
episode.
I'm
Yeah.
so excited
I'm
to get
excited.
to like know you more. This is so fun.
I'm not as exciting as your kids probably made me sound.
I'm pretty sure.
excited.
I'm pretty
They
sure.
bill you up
are.
pretty high, so you got a lot to.
Yeah, everybody that
Undersell,
talked.
guys. Come on.
Yeah. No, the kid. Yeah. So Coach Lance is here. He is the head football coach at American Leadership Academy, which our kids, well, only one of them go to now. But Maddie and Jack both have had you as a teacher, and they both kept bugging you. I'm so sorry, but we're so excited that you're
Our little
willing
recruits.
to do this. I know. We just send them out more.
It's probably because the first day of every semester when we're sitting with the kids, I tell them there's two things I love in this world, and it's America and talking about myself.
This is perfect for you. I love it. Well, American Leadership Academy is a perfect place for you then, too. That's great.
Yeah.
I love how patriotic they are there.
Yeah,
I really do like it.
It's awesome.
Yeah, cool. And so how long have you been at...
Hold on. So did you say that
go.
you said he's the coach of the football team and everything?
Yeah.
And you do weights and.
Yeah, so I
PE?
teach PE.
Okay.
So I teach junior high PE and high school PE. So I've had both of your kids.
Yeah.
And then I teach athletics weights at the end of the day.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And then I coach football also.
Awesome.
And did you have to beat any of our children at any point?
No, see, like that's the thing.
You
It's like most teachers and I like disagree about kids
Yeah?
because all these teachers want kids to do is sit down and shut up.
Yeah.
But I teach PE, and
Yeah.
so the kids that sit down and shut up are like my trouble kids.
Yeah.
I need them to be active and stuff. And like, not that your kids are trouble kids in other classes,
Yeah.
but like your kids were always down to participate, and
Yeah.
that was just like
Oh, good.
super helpful.
Sorry,
Good.
pull that just a little
Am I-
closer. It's just a little far. I
How's
think.
that? Is that better?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
If you pull it, you can move the filter, this thing, if it's bugging you, or
Yeah,
you can
sure.
put it in front of the mic.
Okay.
It's just
Is that
you
better?
sound fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maddie told me, I don't know if it was in your class or not, but she's like, Mom, P is kind of lame sometimes because the kids don't participate. And she's like, and she's competitive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well,
So
her class was tough too because there was only like 10 kids in the class.
Oh, really?
And that's if everyone showed up. And so there were a lot of times where it was,
Just-
all right, there's like 6 of us. Let's figure this out for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
And so,
She's trying to make it work.
yeah.
Were you the one that had bets going with her with like making a basket from like
No,
far
this
out?
is a student.
No.
So she,
Oh, okay.
at her
Okay.
school now, I don't know if we should put this in here.
I would
'cause
just like to
she's getting mad.
specify I'm not
Yeah.
betting my students.
No, she was doing
If you make that, I'll give you this.
like a half court shot.
They're-
Oh.
margins
He's
are
like,
always-
I'll like let a tardy slide or something like that. She made it.
Oh, good for her.
I was shook. I'm like, are you serious? But if
should
you
be
know how
excusable.
competitive she is, like
Right.
she would probably do it until she made it. So anyway, but cool. Yeah, they loved you. So we're again excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us who Coach Lance is.
Yeah, I'm Lance Burrell. I'm 28 years old.
Young buck.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Um,
We're 10 years older than you are.
No, you are.
You're 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're old. Jeez.
you guys look great. You know,
Thanks, man. I'm trying hard. It's
No.
all that collagen or something.
Like I said, I coach football. It's a huge part of my life, and I spend more time doing that than I probably should. But it's just a little different. I know we'll get into that kind of stuff, but it's hard to introduce myself and not talk about being a coach because that's such a huge part of every facet of my life, not just my job.
Yeah.
Moved around a lot growing up. My dad, he works for. Are we allowed to like plug?
Yeah.
Like,
Go.
so,
Yeah, go.
So he works for Lens Crafters. He's a regional manager for
cool.
Lens Crafters, and so he kind of. My parents are really young too, and so as he was working his way up the corporate ladder, that came with us moving around a lot
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And so now he's doing pretty well for himself, and so they're kind of stations. So I lived in Vegas and Phoenix and here and up near Reno for a while and just kind of all over the place. So it's hard to tell people where I'm from.
Yeah. What was your favorite?
Yeah.
When I was living there, my favorite place was here.
Okay.
When I was in middle school and living here, I did not want to leave anywhere. I lived in South Provo, wanted to stay there, like loved it there, whatever. Now as an adult, I would definitely say Phoenix.
Okay.
I really, really, really enjoy it, going home and seeing my family and being around for Christmas and stuff like that.
Are they down there now?
Yeah, so that's where all of them are. And then
Phoenix is nice like 9 months out of the year, man.
I know.
everybody's like, you're from Phoenix? It's so hot. I could never.
If you have a pool, it's doable.
And
you're
it's
good.
like,
yeah.
It's the same way that it's really cold and miserable here for
Yeah.
like 2 months, and then it's beautiful the rest of the year.
And the older I get, the more miserable it gets.
Yeah. But it's just the same thing there.
I had that recollection not too long ago. I was like, especially with this last winter that we had, I was all
Yeah,
all
that was
right,
brutal.
this thing lasted way too long, and at least it's warm there and you can go get in the pool or whatever.
I like the
That
4
was miserable.
seasons, but anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
Phoenix
that's
is cool.
That's me for the most part. I like dumb hobbies that, honestly, the reason I like dumb hobbies like wiffle ball
Okay.
or yo-yoing or just
Stop.
just dumb stuff like
That's
that.
amazing.
But it's because football takes up so much of my mental capacity and so much of my life that I don't have time for any other big hobbies
Okay. Yeah.
or real hobbies. So it's got to just be little things that I get over really quickly and then I move on.
That's
Kind of
fair.
master the yo-yo.
Yeah, like move
yeah.
on to the yo-yo, Rubik's Cube, move
Yeah.
on to wiffle ball, move
Yeah.
on to whatever. So
Oh, I love that.
that's me.
I phoned some friends about you.
Oh, no.
And they said to ask you about your shoe game. Is that a hobby that you have? Or is that
see?
what is it?
Hobby's an interesting word. Addiction is probably
Got it.
a
Okay,
better.
that's fair.
But it's new. That's a new thing.
Okay.
So and it's actually our assistant coach, Coach Hughie's fault because.
Throwing him right under
Oh
the bus.
yeah, I, of all the people to throw under the bus, it's
It's
Hughie.
him? Okay.
And Hughie will come back up as we kind of talk about my career and stuff. But he teaches and coaches with me at ALA. And until we started working together this time last year, I had never bought an expensive pair of shoes in my life. Never once did I care about Jordans, did I care about.
Yeah.
And now I have like 13 pairs of Jordans in 6 months.
What's the in 6 months?
Yeah, because
good
I even held out for a while after seeing Hughie's shoes, and I still was like, I can't do it. And then I bought that first pair, and it was just off the rails.
I know. That's my kids. They all asked for Nikes for Christmas.
Yeah,
so we get it. Yeah.
Our 9-year-old is way into them. It's kind of funny, but yeah.
I can't like he has Jordans for like his little boy.
Cute.
And his little boy's not even 2, and I'm like, knowing that his feet are gonna grow, like he's gonna grow out of those so fast. I can't.
Like a week. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I just bought my first pair of Jordans in like 10 years, probably. A couple, like the last month.
What'd you get?
I got the Jordan 1s.
Okay.
I think they're right.
I don't
just
know.
like
I'd have
the
to
red
look
and
at
black.
the
And,
Yeah.
Cool. They're my kids thought they were cool, so I
Yeah.
I think they're the reason that I got them. I'm like, all right, I'll get a pair of these. They're more comfortable than some people said. I don't know. I think they're comfy.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. Like, now we're getting into shoes. This is
but I've had to break in like some Nikes recently, and then now they're comfortable. But these they're fine.
Ones are nice. Like, ones are like great everyday like beater shoes. Like,
Okay.
Like if I'm,
they're like $100.
Yeah, like
I don't know, maybe right around.
But then you start getting into like some of these more like expensive shoes that people want to talk about, and I am by no means like sneakerhead dude. Like there's people that are so much more invested in it than me. But like I have some 4s, and 4s are really popular right now.
Okay.
They are the coolest looking shoes I have, and they hurt my feet more than any other pair.
Really?
That's
and
the way it goes. I feel like.
But then I have some other ones that some people don't like how they look as much or whatever, and they're so nice and so comfy. I just don't even care if people like them.
That's cool. Me. I'm like, well, they're comfortable, so
yeah.
I just had like 5 pairs of Vans. I'm the guy that like, this is a built shirt. and I found out that I like Built. I don't know if you heard their shirts, but she bought me like just no kidding, like 8 pairs of shirts. All
the
Built.
Same, yeah.
Just
So
all
I'm the
same.
type that like I find something I like and I just buy a ton of it.
Yeah.
You know? I'm kind of picky that way, but
It's
it's
like a
all
little
plain,
uniform.
whatever. Yeah,
That's
easy to go with.
I can't believe I'm not wearing it right now, but like short sleeve hoodies and shorts
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
year round. Like
Yeah.
I'll wear them. Like if you would have asked your kids, like describe one outfit, that they would tell you short sleeve
That'd be it.
hoodies and shorts.
High school
so funny.
Belichick.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's funny.
Or junior, I guess.
What's the most expensive pair you've purchased? Was it a 4? Was it one of your
No,
4s?
no. The 4s were there. I think when I bought the Cherry 11s,
Okay.
I think I paid more for those than what I paid for the 4s. I think they were a little over $400.
Yeah, you did.
So
Where are you buying that?
I get them on just apps or online
Okay.
or
Okay.
whatever. It's just
Are
Yeah.
they, like new releases, so you have to like auction for
No,
them?
see, I don't. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Like, I can't care about it that much. To
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not waiting for them to like when they come out. I'll buy them. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
stand in line or get on the app and
Do
wait
all
for
that.
No, like,
Okay.
Okay. Cool.
look, I'm gonna be stupid with my money to get the stuff I want. I'm not gonna shop the deals. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna invest my time. Like
Okay.
people say, time is money. No, it's not. I'm
But the
Sound
brain
like me.
power, back to the brain power. You're like, it has to be an easy
yeah.
hobby,
I
right?
can't
right,
put
right,
work
right.
into this.
Got it.
Yeah.
I also was asked who your favorite player is.
On our football team, it's Nico Marble.
No question.
No.
Okay. Why? Why
And,
Nico?
and you know what? Nico's going to graduate, and whoever's playing quarterback for us after
Will
that
be
is
that
going to
guy?
be my favorite player.
Okay.
That's fair.
Sweet.
I actually,
Because-
has Jack talked to you guys about
Yes.
my master plan for
Oh.
him?
He did. He
He
said
did
he
very
wanted
little.
to talk, or that you
Tell us. I want to hear.
Yeah.
From you.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
so Nico's going into his junior season right now. I'm going to
Yeah.
have him for 2 more years. He just did a great job for us as a
He
sophomore.
did great.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah, okay.
And like the first win for forever and ever was this year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He did a great
we're
job.
grateful.
So I'm going to have him for 2 more years. Jack is in 8th grade now.
7.
7th grade. Yeah, so he's going into 7th grade. So next year he'll be an 8th grader, and Nico will go into his senior year.
Yeah.
And then when Jack becomes a freshman, Nico will graduate. And then I'll just slide him in there. Jack
Perfect.
can play quarterback for me, and we'll start working him now.
Yeah. Because
And so by
Yeah.
the time he's a freshman, he's actually got 2 years under his belt in the system playing quarterback for us. And then I'll have him for 4 more years.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
have you seen Jack play?
no.
We just
you
feel
seen
like
him
this
throw a
is
ball
a
or
good.
anything?
I'm convinced at this point that I can teach
Pretty much.
most people how to be serviceable football players.
Cool.
Okay.
The real key to success under my coaching is, do you annoy me little enough that I'm willing to put in the time to
Okay.
make you better? Which is why I like Nico.
love
I get
everything
along
about
with
this.
Nico.
Nico is
He's a
so
great-
He's
great.
a great kid.
I love
like,
Nico.
We went and watched a game or two this last year, and I felt like Nico did an awesome job.
Yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
he's for a young kid. He's got an awesome arm, and
Yeah.
you know what's good about Jack? For I'll leave that up to you guys. So you guys
Yeah.
work that out. Jack actually he has a lot to learn, obviously, but
Sure.
he's actually a sharp kid.
Yeah.
And he gets a lot of the fundamentals of football way better than I ever did at his age.
Sure.
And he actually does have a pretty decent little arm.
Yeah.
You know. But his first year at tackle football was this last year.
Oh, it was awesome the other because we were just talking about this. It's not a real master plan. We were
Yeah,
just
yeah.
joking.
Yeah.
But in PE the other day, we were kind of joking about it and talking about it. And then at the end of the class, when the kids were all changing and they were kind of coming in and out of the locker room, and a couple of the boys had a ball in the gym and they were throwing the football back and forth. And Jack kind of looked at me, and you could see him start to sweat a little bit, like start to stand a little taller. Hey, coach, watch this. Starts throwing the ball, and you could just see how nervous he was.
That's-
And I was like, Jack, I'm not evaluating your future potential of a quarterback in 10 minutes in PE.
My
with the,
favorite.
like,
Yeah.
but
You just nailed Jack in like
Yeah.
a 3-second clip.
He's a little bit of a dreamer, and he's great. That's funny.
He wants
You
to
did
do
that.
well, and he was like worried about, you know.
He almost cares too much how he looks when he does stuff than how he's actually.
that's how he
doing it.
actually performs.
Yeah.
That might be
And what's
helpful
great
information.
is you can totally hit him. You can like whatever you need to get him in line.
Again, I would just like to clarify, I do not hit my players.
You
Like,
could like take him out. Just take him down on the ground a couple times, loosen him up,
know.
and he'll be great.
That's why he uses the other players to do that.
Take the biggest kid and just
it's fine.
Smear him. No, that's awesome.
Cool. So let's talk about, because football.
Yeah.
Football, right? So what about, where did you get your love for football? How did this come about?
Hold on, before I forget, can I
go.
ask you this question? Yeah. Jack told me to ask you how many rings you have.
Oh, yeah.
I have 3 in 7 years.
Awesome.
3.
So
Yeah, all high school?
I have 2 in college and 1 in high school.
Dude,
That's awesome.
So
that's amazing.
it was a good time. All 3 seasons, it was a lot of hard work and a lot of good people, and I felt like I got very lucky to be there all 3 stops when I was.
Yeah.
And because there was just so many people working towards one common goal and got it done, and so that it was awesome.
Oh, that's
Cool.
good for you, man.
Yeah.
What schools were they?
So I had 2 at Southern Utah.
Okay.
The first one I was a nobody kind of entry level GA, which is an entry level college coach, a graduate assistant, and I didn't do as much for that one. The second one was also at SU. It was 2 years later, and by then I had kind of worked my way up a little bit. I still wasn't like a full time, like I'm making decisions, calling plays. Like that wasn't it either, but I had more of an impact and more of a say, and I really relished that one a little bit more because I felt like I actually did something to earn that one.
Yeah.
And then I won my high school ring, not this season obviously, but the year before.
My bad. Sorry.
Wow.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Rookie mistake. Sorry about it.
I've been like sitting here like praying my phone doesn't go off the whole time.
Mine's on silent, I'm pretty sure.
I was the offensive coordinator at Layton Christian when we won the state championship 2 years ago.
Oh, cool.
So it's a good time.
Awesome.
Did you live up there?
No,
Did you have to commute?
Yeah, so I was driving like an hour 20 or so to get to work every day.
Holy cow.
And then coming back in traffic was like a 2-hour drive every day. So I was spending like 4 hours in my car.
Oh my gosh, man.
To and from. So
that's dedication. You should get a ring just for your travel time.
no, so let's go back. Let's talk.
Yeah.
Football for me, like growing up, everybody wants to be a football player, right? Like everybody wants to be a pro athlete, and you don't care what the odds are. You don't care what your job's gonna be. Like you're gonna be the one that and that was me. Like I loved all sports, but especially football. I was a good player. I wasn't a great player. Like I was good, and we won a lot of games, and I had a lot of good teammates and coaches and stuff. And I played at a big school in Phoenix, and we were good, but it wasn't because I was just this amazing like quarterback or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I got hurt. I had tore every ligament in my knee. Or the big ones. I shouldn't say every because I'm not like a master of anatomy. But
to be real, like even just like one
Yeah.
is painful, right?
And then my meniscus was just gone. It was just totally shredded, and I had a crack in my kneecap.
Holy cow.
And
From like one hit?
yeah,
or
it was all at once.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and so that kind of not immediately, but it did end up like kind of putting a damper on the playing career and just being done. I mean, I played one more year after that, but it wasn't the same. I couldn't move. I was hurting. I wasn't very good. Everything just kind of wasn't the same. And so I immediately kind of jumped into just coaching, just because I love ball. I wanted to be around football. I had a little brother that was playing Little League, and so I helped coach his teams and stuff like that. And so pretty much from that point on, there was like, I'm not interested enough in anything else to really do this, and I'm not going to play, so I might as well, start now and get my feet wet and whatever. And so I coached like 7 seasons of youth football while I was still in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like just because I wanted to kind of be around and do it. And my senior year, this is so dumb, a quarter of an elective credit short of graduating.
Oh, dang it.
But you can't earn a quarter of a credit. That's not like a thing.
Yeah.
But just the way I TA'd some people and just electives and stuff, it worked out dumb. And so I had to do 60 hours of community service to get an elective credit to graduate high school.
What?
You're kidding.
And so all I did, I went to one of the coaches that I coached with at the Little League and got him to sign off on my time sheets. So I wouldn't have graduated high school if I wasn't coaching football.
Yeah. Oh, that worked out. Win-win right there.
And so that was kind of what started everything. And you don't really know when you're 17, like, what you want to do. It's going to change 8 times, and everybody says you're going to change your major. You're going to do. It never changed. I knew football is what I was going to do, and early on, the reasons why I wanted to do it were very different than why I do it now. So that's been fun. That's been kind of a little part of the ride. Yeah, but that's how it started. And
what do you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, early on, like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, okay.
And so when you watch football on TV or whatever, and you see these
kind of
teams,
glorified,
and you don't understand that you're looking at the byproduct of everything you're not seeing. You don't see the practices, you don't see the planning and the work and all those things. You just see the And so early, you're like, man, I want that. Yeah. And so whatever I got to do to get that is what we're gonna do. And now, like, I love the process more than anything else. I love the planning, the scheduling, the calendars, the communication, the team building. Like, I could care less about the fancy parts of football, really. Like, I tell the kids this all the time. Like, I don't want to just beat you on the field. I want to beat you in the weight room. I want to have a better weights program. I want to beat you with our apparel. I want our stuff to look better than yours. I want our calendar to be better than yours. I want our recruiting to be better than yours. I want our Little League team. I want to have the best helmets. Like, all that stuff is, like, fun for me. Yeah. And so that's why I do it now. And that and the kids. I didn't realize how much I was going to love the kids when I first started doing it. Yeah. And now it's like, man, that's the best part of it is the people and the kids.
And you get really close with them. You spend hours and hours, like, during season, probably more hours than their family probably spends with them, right?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So that's awesome.
Yeah, that's a long answer to a short question.
No, that's great.
I loved it.
So sorry.
That was perfect. No, you covered a lot in a little time, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, I like it. So you just, like, instantly loved all sports, but football just mainly was the passion.
I don't know why. Yeah. But that's just the one that stuck.
Yeah. When was, like, the earliest? When did you, like, start football? Like,
did
you play
football,
Little League?
I didn't play Little League. I played baseball growing up, and I liked baseball, but like I played everything growing up, but not really. Like, we didn't, I wasn't playing on travel teams or anything, but we had a group of friends and we went and played, and kids don't do that now, but that's what we did. And honestly, it started, like, when I was really younger. Like, I was the fat kid that didn't want to run, so I was always like, "Let me play quarterback. I got you
this.
Guys go run, and I'll throw it to you guys."
That's awesome.
But yeah, like,
working smarter.
That's how I do it in the yard with the boys. I'm like, all-time quarterback. You guys play receiver, 1-on-1. Yeah,
I love it.
Funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
And then it kind of just took off. Like, when I went to graduate, I kind of had 2 kind of roads. Like, I look back now and I didn't realize this at the time, but it was a crossroad. And for most people it is. Like, graduation's a big change and you don't know what's going to happen, but for me it was just very simple. It was this or this. And so I was either go to Northern Arizona University and be a choir teacher, because I did choir through high school and stuff.
Wait, I did see that you sang the national anthem. Listen, I, like, stalked you on Facebook and I was like, wait, he said he sang the national anthem.
So you sing then?
I'm not well, and not even as well as I used to. All my friends were in the choir in high school, so I did it.
Okay.
But
enough, you liked music enough that you thought about doing.
Yeah.
Choir.
So at the time there was that, and NAU was a really good music program for that and that kind of thing, and it was closer to home, and I could kind of do that. Or I could go to Southern Utah University, and one of their best programs at the school is coaching and PE and that kind of thing. And any successful coach in the state probably has ties back to SU at some point.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so it was like, okay, man, like, High School Musical moment here. Do you want to
Yes.
do music or do you want to do sports or what? And it was crazy because I didn't even like my grades sucked in high school. I didn't care. I wish I could go back and redo it, but I couldn't believe I even got into SUU. I didn't even plan on applying. I was just going to go to, I wanted to do one of those two things, but I really thought I'm not going to get into either of those, so I'll just go to UVU because they take everyone. And
welcome. Yes, and, that's me.
I got an email on my phone on my way to school that was like, apply for free right now in 5 minutes. And I was like, all right, like I might as well.
Let's do it.
Like, yeah. And then it was crazy. Like that, it just took off. We went and visited and loved Cedar.
That's awesome. So where were you at that point? Were you in Utah?
I went to high school in Phoenix.
Oh, okay. High school in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and
high
moved
school
up here, went to SUU.
That's right.
And you played ball there.
Again, I just started coaching. Like,
okay. You coached there.
So I took
while you were a student.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I took a class as a PE elective that was like coaching football.
Oh, okay.
And it was taught by the head football coach at the time. And he kind of said, like, okay, whatever you guys want to get out of this class is what we'll do. We'll tailor it to you. There's only a few of you. Like, some of you really want to know. I think there was an older couple that was like a booster. Mm-hmm. And so they just kind of wanted to understand what they were looking at a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And then obviously I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to know as much as I could. And so he ended up offering me an opportunity to go, like I said, just be entry level. Like my main job was, the picture boards on the sideline at football games. You ever seen that?
Yeah.
I was the guy that held the boards.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And he basically was like, do this, be quiet, and you can come out and do it.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And that's how I got my foot in the door to Division I college football. And then I just tried to be like the best sign holder I could be, right? Like that's
No, I think that's awesome.
And you work your way up from there. And then I went to after 3 years at SUU, I got hired to coach at Dakota Wesleyan University in Mitchell, South Dakota. So you don't know where that is. No one does. It's
nope.
I mean, I know where South Dakota is.
Good for
That's
you.
the first stop.
I did not when I applied for the job.
No.
Super cold and flat.
So if you go to Sioux Falls, which is right in the corner of like Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska.
I've actually been there.
And then you drive an hour west of Sioux Falls, you'll hit Mitchell.
Okay.
And so I got a job there, and I ended up working my way up there pretty quickly too. And I was calling plays in college football games and
cool
coaching quarterbacks, and it was nuts. It was a crazy experience to move. Like, we moved to Mitchell the week that Harper was born. So I got this job. Oh, my wife. She's not gonna kill me, but she will judge me for this because everybody judges me for it. I got the job, and he was like, "Okay, you got to be here for the start of spring ball, which is in March." I said, "Okay, great." My wife's 8.5 months pregnant. Is there any wiggle room here? And he goes, "No." And I said, "Okay, great."
Oh,
dang.
So I moved to South Dakota, and my wife moved in with her parents here.
Okay.
For like a month, and then we scheduled an induction as early as they would let us schedule an induction. Just praying that the baby didn't come before that.
Yeah.
And then on like a weekend, I flew back here. We had Harper, and then I got on a plane and flew back. So she
stayed.
Yeah, so she stayed with her mom for like another month.
So you were there for the birth and everything.
I got there for the birth.
Man.
Dude,
way
that
to
was
go.
yeah.
And then they ended up moving out a couple months after that. But
jeez,
that whole experience was just wild.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're married.
Yeah.
How did you meet your wife?
We met at SUU.
Oh, you did?
I went on a date with her roommate.
Yes.
And then we came back, and she was like, "We're watching a movie at my house. There's a bunch of people there." And I was like, "Okay, great." So we go back to their apartment, and we were watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And my wife was sitting on the floor, and I was like, "I am with the wrong roommate. This is not the situation." And I actually stayed really good friends with that roommate.
Oh, good.
And good friends, whatever. But it worked out. But that's how I met my wife.
I love it. Yeah. So then you're like, the next night you asked her out. Is it
No, I people ask me all the time, like, how did you pull your wife? Because my wife's way out of my league. Like, she's smarter than me. She's beautiful. She's great. Like, I am just the idiot football guy, right? Like,
that's how you know you married right.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
I did the same thing.
Good recruiter.
Yeah. There you go.
But people ask me all the time, like, how did you pull Caitlin? I said, persistence. Because she was not interested in me at all.
Really?
No, she had a boyfriend who had just left on a mission, and I didn't want to, mess with that too much or whatever. So we were just friends, and then Caitlin ended up going on a mission too.
Oh, cool.
So she was gone for 18 months, and I was in Cedar by myself, and it was just friendly stuff. And then she came back, and we kind of. I don't know what the word.
Reconnected.
Yeah, reconnected. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then we got married shortly after that.
Oh, cool.
So
good for you, man.
And then I had Harper
and Cedar. Yep.
Okay.
How long did you live in South Dakota for?
Like 2 years.
2 years.
It was
okay.
short, but felt a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Really?
A little brutal.
Yeah.
It was tough, man. It was a good experience. I needed it. There's something that is beautiful about being young and being newly married and being a new father and being forced to figure it out on your own.
Yeah.
Like, there's no family out there. They're the closest people that could even like be close to family that could help. I have like an aunt that was like 11 hours away.
Oh my gosh, 11 hours.
And so every little thing becomes a bigger thing when you're on your own. And so we needed that. It was good to get away from my family and get away from her family and start our own family
and rely on each
on
other.
our own and have to really do that. Like just little things like car maintenance. Like
yeah,
it took me 11 hours to learn how to change an alternator in my car.
Yeah.
And
it's probably faster than I could do it. So.
We only had one car. There was nothing else we could do. Like I can't take it to my dad to fix. Like stuff like that. Like it was good for us. It was really good for us. And so.
Yeah.
And after that, where did you go?
So at the end of that, we, like career-wise, I was really happy where I was in the sense that I was the youngest play caller in America at the time. We had just had a top 10 passing offense. Like we'd done some really nice things. And I was just miserable and unfulfilled and just there were so many other parts of my life that were struggling and suffering because of how much went into that. And so we pretty much said, okay, after the season, we're going to move back to Utah and figure it out. Don't have a job, don't have a place to live, don't have a plan, but
just
we're around family. Caitlin's from here and that kind of, so it's like, we'll move home and figure it out.
Yeah.
And so I started just looking in the Des News. And I was just following all the teams that had really bad records because I thought maybe they'll have a head coach opening. And I just had like a list on my phone and I was just cold calling and people were like, the season just ended. We don't have a...
Yeah.
And it worked out. Found a job and we figured it out. That's
crazy.
That's what we did.
Was it ALA?
No. So I was at Providence Hall.
Oh, you were in Layton first too.
Yeah. Okay. So I went to Providence Hall first and that was my first head coaching job. And then I left there, and I went to Layton Christian for a year. Okay. And then now I'm at ALA.
Where's Providence Hall at?
It's in Harriman. It's right off the Mountain View corridor.
Yeah. Okay.
Just right up there on the mountain.
Yep.
So what's like something, your biggest, I don't know, is it like... Yeah, or like your philosophy in coaching, I'm sure has changed a lot, like you said. But what's like your biggest, like, your favorite growing spot with coaching?
I think that, so first, let's back up. My coaching philosophy is easy because it's my philosophy that has taken over my life, especially in the last year. It's not just football. And our kids say it all the time. Our guys have it on their shirts, and it's what we talk about all the time, but it's EAT. It's EAT.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. Okay.
And so it's effort, attitude, toughness. And I'm convinced that if you have those three characteristics, whether it's football, whether it's school, whether it's marriage, whether it's whatever, those three things will get you through pretty much anything. And if you can get through anything, you can start to get good at it.
Yeah.
If you start to get good at it, you can be really great at a lot of things. And so that's our coaching philosophy, and that's what we talk about all the time with the kids. Everything that we choose to do with our program comes back to that. And so, like when we come up with new ideas or new plays or new thoughts in the off season or whatever, the first two thoughts that we have are, one, we're here because of the kids. If there weren't any kids, we wouldn't have a coaching job. Yeah. So is this the right move for the kids? And two, does it fit in somewhere with effort, attitude, toughness? If it's not one of those two things, we're not doing it, period. And so that's kind of my coaching philosophy, and it's kind of bled into everything now, especially in the last year. So,
and where did you come up with those specifics? Do you know or remember?
Yeah, it was kind of a culmination of a lot of things that I'd learned from a bunch of different places, right? Like at SUU, there were times where we really pushed our guys. It was tough. Almost probably not to the point where it was dangerous or overtraining or not beneficial, but would there have been some times where we could have given them a break and we would have probably been physically better? Yes. But mentally, we knew we were going to win.
Yeah.
We didn't question if we were going to get it done. When we were losing, we didn't blink. When we were winning, we put the throttle down because we were tough and we did hard things there. Yeah. And so that was kind of the toughness part of it, where I learned that. And then the effort part of it, everything in South Dakota was about effort, because it wasn't a D1 glorious fun job. It was a very small private school, and the best athletes aren't going there. Yeah. And so when everybody is kind of on that same tier where it's okay, we're all pretty mid athletes. Yeah. Well, who wants it more? Who's going to work for it more? Whose effort is better? That's who's going to win. Yeah. And so we did a lot there as a staff and as a team. And so it was just parts. I didn't make up anything, but it just all kind of came together. And so
Sweet. I like it. I love that.
A lot of stealing the stuff that works from people. Yeah. And a lot of learning what doesn't work from other people.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just
yeah. Well, that's the benefit of being at a few different places. Then you can then you can just kind of piece it all together. And yeah. That's awesome.
It's been fun.
I don't think you have to reinvent the wheel with just about anything these days. You can just
Google it. You just got to Google it.
Yeah, that's
just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, we always joke too as a staff, our slogan game is probably better than any other staff. We always say two things. We're the fattest staff in America. But personality fat though. Not even everyone on our staff is big dudes, but we can eat, and we're always down to go eat, and we're always we're just fat people.
Yeah. Happy.
Yeah. And then the second thing is our slogans are really good.
Yeah.
And it's because it's a culmination of, I've got my stuff that I say eat and that kind of thing. And Hughie's thing is nobody cares, work harder. And so we talk about that good, bad, and different all the time. Nobody cares, work harder. And we say stuff like every day's a Friday and stuff like that. Just there's always good stuff. Nobody feels good at 6 a.m. Coach, I can't make it to weights today. I don't feel very good. Hey, newsflash, buddy. None of us feel good.
No doubt.
So we have a lot of just dumb stuff like that kind of all goes into our
Nobody cares, work harder. That's the Cam Haynes. Is that from him?
I don't know where Hughie got it, to be honest with you.
But he says it all the time.
Yeah, to me, it's a Hughie thing, but I don't know about anybody else.
There's this guy that runs ultra marathons, and he's a big archery hunter that I've followed a little bit. And his big thing is nobody cares, work harder, and he's kind of known for his hard work. Yeah, he's a stud. But anyway, that's cool. And you see those T-shirts around now. Yeah, but I don't know if he invented it or not. But I've heard. It seemed like it came from. I heard him say it a bunch, but that's cool.
So. Did you find ALA or did ALA find you?
So when I was at Providence Hall, we beat ALA. We played.
Oh, yeah, I actually saw that. Yeah.
That's actually the game that I sung the national anthem at.
Oh, it was?
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I did see it.
that was a while.
I'm going to sing to you, beat you, and then coach you.
That's how it worked out. That was not the plan.
This is me coming in hot. I am elite.
The only one of those things that was planned beforehand was beating them. I did not plan on singing the anthem that night.
Really?
No.
They just called you on the spot?
No, there was somebody else supposed to do it. And she backed out or she couldn't do it for some reason, whatever.
Oh, man.
And one of our trainers was like, well, Coach Lance sings all the time. Like, he could. And so
Yes.
I kind of got asked, like, right before. And I was
So, like, if we just ask you.
No.
Yeah.
Dang it. Okay.
She's the type that if she gets asked to speak in church, she would rather sing a song than speak.
Hands down.
Oh, no.
Which, dude, I don't get it either. I'd rather not do any of it. But
Listen, I don't feel like we have had this conversation.
We've
I feel
talked
like
on
I'm
here,
good with my words. I would rather, like, portray somebody else's message. And you know what I mean? It's like
That's
the
smart.
cheater. It's the cheater way. Like,
well, you're smart enough to know the
Yeah.
strengths and weaknesses of yourself.
right?
And just exploit them.
Right? See? Here we are.
she's a great singer. Yeah.
That's awesome.
How fun. Cool. Okay, so.
Yeah,
sorry,
so
we're
ALA,
gonna-
yeah. So we played, and I was kind of aware of him, and I'd gotten to know the old head coach, Nate Porter, for a little bit, and we had done some work together and stuff like that. And so when I left Providence Hall, I was kind of looking for a job, whatever, and I had some connections to Layton Christian. That's how I ended up there. But I knew going into that Layton Christian was not the long-term answer. It was, okay.
I mean, it's an hour and a half drive, so that's not.
Yeah.
There's that. That's just like the first.
The thing about that, though, like I don't like to, like, brag or toot my own horn or whatever. It's up for other people to decide how good a coach I am. But one of the best things, I think, for me to become the best coach I could be was that drive every day. Because I wouldn't just sit in the car and listen to music all day. In the mornings, I would listen to coaching podcasts and other stuff like that, team building stuff, and try to learn that way. And when I was in the car for 2.5 hours after school every day, I was calling coaches and, talking to people all over like, there was no one off limits. I would call anyone if I could get their number.
That's so awesome.
And just, hey, how do you guys do this? How do you guys do this? And I knew that I wanted to be a head coach again. And I knew that I wanted to do some things differently than how I did them at Prov.
Yeah.
And so that 2.5 hours every day was just trying to get home.
Yeah.
But it was also when I really put together the plan that I believe in so much that we're doing at ALA and having success with that ALA. Yeah. It was a huge part of it was going to and from Layton Christian every day.
Yeah. Well, that is cool. Yeah, good for you for, like, realizing, okay, I can either just be in the car or I can make it worth it. So that's awesome.
So
good for you.
So I knew LCA wasn't the long-term answer. I knew I wasn't going to be there, whatever. I knew I wanted to be a head coach again.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the season, we were getting ready to play in the state championship game. I had talked to a few people, like, nothing official. I didn't put in for any job, whatever, just buddies. Like, if you hear of anything opening, let me know, kind of deal. And Nate Porter from ALA called and said, hey, this job's going to open. This coach has got something else lined up. There's going to be an opening here. Do you want me to give your info to the AD? And I was like, yeah, like, I don't know if I'm interested in that or not. But at that point I was interested in everything.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's kind of how it got kicked off and started. And then we won the state championship, and then I interviewed, and it all, the more I looked into ALA, the more I realized that was where I wanted to be, because there was going to be other openings available. Like, I had some other things I was kind of working, but when that happened, I looked at ALA and said, that's the job I want, not the job I'm going to get stuck with. And so I jumped on it early. Like, I was hired in December.
Oh, wow.
And so there were a bunch of openings that hadn't even come up yet. I didn't care. I wanted to be at ALA. And so that's...
And what was it about ALA? Like, you just felt like...
There was a lot of things. I wanted at that point in my life to do something difficult. I knew I didn't want to just be at a program that had it all figured out and I was just keeping the status quo. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to build something, and I wanted to, good or bad, whether it worked or it failed miserably, I wanted to do it my way and get a chance to see what that was like. And at ALA, they gave me that opportunity. Yeah. And then also, the other thing about ALA was I feel like they actually are invested in trying to win. They cared about, like, just the right little things. So like Huddle is a program we all use to watch film and plays and stuff, right? At ALA, they didn't just say, okay, here's Huddle. They said, hey, we got the premium top of the line Huddle subscription, which isn't that big a deal until you're out of space and you wish you could teach these kids these drills with this clip or whatever.
Yeah.
And so like just little things like that. Hey, this is a budget to get some equipment. So if you need equipment every year, like make sure you keep up with that stuff. We're willing to spend school money on these things. Like ALA was invested in winning. And I felt like when they heard my plan and they heard my vision, whatever, I felt like ALA was invested in me.
Yeah. And
so it's like, why would I go somewhere where they just want stuff to be status quo, where I could go win 5-6 games a year in year one, 8-9 the next year, whatever, and be good. Or I could take over arguably the toughest program to win in the state and see what we can do with it. And the people were the right fit. The place was the right fit. It all just worked out.
Well, and it seems to be working well.
It's going according to plan so far.
Good.
It's going according to plan so far. I have a hard time saying it's going well when we win one game, but I also have to acknowledge that situations are situational, right? Like one game is not the same as one game to every other school.
Right.
So I don't want to be like out there tooting my horn. Yeah. It's going great when we won like one game, right? But I know what went into that one game. And so it's optimistic for the future for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good.
We got a young quarterback.
Yeah, like we don't lose that many kids going into year two.
Cool.
Yeah.
And when we have the most important ones, our center's back, our quarterback's back.
Nice.
We had a couple all-state kids this year, which was good. And they'll be back, and a good young core of last year we had like 15 freshmen.
Oh wow.
And those kids like all of our kids didn't know what they were getting into when me and Hughie showed up. Like they didn't know how tough it was gonna be, but especially those freshmen, they were hanging on for dear life. And by the end of the year, like they did a great job.
Yeah.
We had guys that played like starting varsity minutes for us that were freshmen last year.
Really?
Yeah, by the end of the year, like Mason Ober played linebacker for us.
Oh, cool.
And it's because bought into what we were doing. Like those kids never questioned. They just believed in what we told them and went for it and did it, and they got better as the year went. And so now getting all of those kids back, like we have a good nucleus going into year two.
Well, and I think it like attributes to you that they put that much trust in you. Like if they didn't feel like you had their best interest and that you could do these things for them,
good
I don't think.
Coach.
Yeah, I think.
I would say that if you asked our kids, they would tell you that they've never been pushed harder.
Yeah.
And never been held more accountable, but they've also never known that their coaches love them more than now. And I think that's a really really, really, really careful balance you have to walk. Like you cannot, you can't coach kids harder than you're willing to love them.
Yeah.
And that goes beyond football. Like in class, I hold our kids in class very accountable. Like it kind of comes back to this thing that I don't know where I heard this or whatever, but I've put a lot of thought into it. Like kids are stupid.
Yeah.
And they've been stupid forever.
Yeah.
I was
stupid like
as a kid. I was stupid as a kid. You were stupid as a kid. But what does everyone you talk to say, right? Well, these kids nowadays, like this and that. No. The difference now and back in the day, whatever that means.
Whenever that was.
Adults are stupid now too.
For sure.
And there's no one holding kids accountable anymore. Like when I was a kid, you would do dumb stuff. You would get caught because you're dumb.
Uh-huh.
You would learn the lesson, you'd fix it, and you'd move on with your life better. Somewhere in the last 10 years, maybe COVID, let's blame COVID because we blame COVID for everything.
Go ahead.
Seriously.
Sounds about right.
Somewhere, those second and third steps stopped happening, where adults stopped holding kids accountable and making sure that they learn those lessons and stuff. So kids, status quo, they're just as dumb as they were forever. Yeah. And so I try really hard to be the adult that is consistent for these kids, where they know what they're going to get, they're going to be held accountable. Let's make sure that they learn these other things so that they're stupid when they get here, but they're not as stupid when they leave. That's winning. That's what we shoot for.
I think sports are probably even more important now for kids than they ever have been because of exactly what you're saying, you know.
Yeah.
And I think like our 9-year-old had his first junior jazz basketball game yesterday, awesome. And he has for him he has some decent like just raw talent. But it was kind of funny. I was talking to Jack yesterday. I'm like, I feel like my little junior, and who knows, looking back, whatever. But I feel like we always played outside, always played basketball. We're always like, I had a Nintendo, like a Super Nintendo or something, but I didn't play it all day every day. No. But if I let him, he'll sit and play freaking Fortnite. I just had to ground him for a month from Fortnite, dude. He took his Switch in his bed, and I walked in his room, and he just started laughing because he knew he was caught. Man. It was actually pretty
cool. He tried to sneak it.
Dumb stuff, man. I'm like, dude, we're done with this freaking crap.
Hey, good job. You kept him accountable.
You're one of those. You're not a dumb adult.
I'm kind of an ass kicker sometimes. Maybe over the top. She tells me I'm over the top sometimes, but no. But I was just like, I feel like my little junior jazz team probably would have whomped on these kids because they're and you know, good for them for being out and playing and all that stuff. But I'm like, 70% of them seemed like they'd never hardly touched a basketball in their lives. Right. And I'm like, we just more time outside, and I get it's winter now, it's tough or whatever.
More options for kids nowadays.
Yeah,
totally, yeah. And what's tougher too about it, like when I was a kid, I was kind of like you. I played like all the sports, kind of went from basketball to baseball to football back to basketball. Just did all 3 sports for 3 months and never really became the master of any of them, but was just good enough to get by in all of them, right? But like Jack played competitive baseball starting at like 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like 8 years old, and he was, it was like, correct me if I'm wrong here, it was like a 20, 30-hour commitment a week for him at that age.
It was, yeah.
You know?
It's crazy.
And so we were paying for the baseball and the travel, and then on top of that, we were paying another guy to coach him before practice. So he'd go see a guy in Mapleton and then go to practice right after that. And then when he was home, I'm like, dude, you need to love this enough that you could tell by like the end of year 2, he was like losing his passion for it. Right. It was like a hang for him. And then Jack actually has a lot of good talent that way too. But I was telling Jess this, that I had a buddy. What worried me is I could kind of see he was just kind of getting burnt out already. And he likes baseball, but he didn't love baseball. Right. He seems to love football. He's been talking about doing wrestling, which I think would just be good for him to go get his butt kicked a little bit. Yeah. You know? He's wanted boxing gloves for his birthday, and I'm like, until he goes and does like boxing lessons, we're not getting any of our kids boxing.
But we understand.
He'll end up beating up Taft.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's the problem, is that he's like, I'll get him, and then let's get a pack for my younger brother so that I can pummel.
As the oldest brother, I respect that.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, no, sorry.
They were hitting each other with pillows this morning, and you just saw Taft's eyes turn red. He just wanted to kill Jack. I'm like,
Anyway.
I'm like, but anyway, I was telling Jess this yesterday that I had a buddy that growing up that played basketball, and he could have gone and played D1 college basketball like really easily. Super talent, man. But I think by the time he got to his senior year, he was just burnt out by it because he was one of the few kids back then that really did all the competitive leagues from like a really young age. And I think you really have to balance that too. And I think by the time they're in junior high school, it's okay to push them hard. I don't know. You know way more about this stuff than me.
Well, but when they're starting
I was
just trying to figure this out.
Okay, cool. But I just remember thinking like, okay, Jack knows the rule with us is like, you have to finish whatever you start. Right. So if you say yes to something, you're in till it's over. So we made him finish out the baseball season, and then we just had a few like hard conversations about it, you know, and it ended up being the best thing to be done with baseball, you know. But it was a great experience for him too. But anyway, I think with at least our philosophy with parenting has been, you know, let's let them try everything and see what they love, and then try to encourage that so they can enjoy it and find a discipline and hard work and everything. Like everything, we tend to learn a lot better when it is harder and feel more fulfilled when it is harder, and when we accomplish something, it means more, you know. But anyway.
No, that's awesome.
I don't know if that makes any sense, or I'm talking in circles here, but
no, I feel the same way. Like we pushed our kids really hard at ALA this year to do multiple sports. So like a bunch of our football players are wrestling right now. A bunch of them are playing basketball. We'll have some baseball guys go, some track guys go, because it's just like you get 4 years to do this.
Yeah.
You know, like you get 4 years to try what you want, because guess what? You all suck at it. Like in the grand,
throw it out
in the grand world of sports, right? Like there's always somebody else. Like if you look at percentages, you're probably pretty low anyway, and that's any high school kid, right?
Right.
Like, So go try a bunch of stuff. Go wrestle. Go play soccer. Go play basketball. Go do these things. And that's another reason why ALA was the right fit for me, was because I actually wanted to be somewhere you could do that. You go to some of these other bigger schools and they're specializing in junior high and the kids hate it, but they do it. It is what it is. Yeah. And it's like, no, let's, most of the starting basketball team at ALA is on our team.
Yeah.
Most of the wrestlers are on our team. I don't know.
I hear it's good for them. I mean, as far as physically too, to be able to do all those other things too, that it helps pull into the other sports. I don't know. Anyway, the techniques that they are.
Technically, I was a head coach this year myself of a football
Seriously?
team. I was more the organizer. I was the biatch. Is really the title I had.
You were the GA.
Yes. They gave me the title head coach so I could text the parents and then encourage the kids. I was there at every practice and every game and everything. But I coached Taft's little 4th grade football team.
Sweet.
And dude, it was a lot of fun. It was freaking killer. Way more work than I thought I was getting into for sure, especially that age. But it was awesome.
This is a random football question.
Okay.
So for us, I feel like we're more, well, you said, here, let's start here. You said if you got asked to do NFL, you said hard pass.
Yeah.
Why?
Part of it is the luxury of being at the high school level is I'm done every night at 7. And if I do have work to be done, I can do it at home or on my computer or, when we play games, it's Friday night and then we're home Friday night. We're not all over the place. And if I lose, no one's going to be harder on us for losing than I am on me, right? Mm-hmm. That's just the reality of it. Whereas if you get into that world where there's that much money and that much commitment and that much other stuff around it, you lose a game, you might not have a job on Monday.
Yeah.
You probably aren't seeing your kids for 4 straight days. You're not, at that point, it's like a whole separate thing. That's not even what I'm doing, Yeah. And football-wise, I really believe that ball is ball. There's nothing that's just so evolutionary happening on a football field in the NFL that couldn't in some way, shape, or form be done with your 4th grade team.
Yeah.
Everybody's doing the same stuff. And so the ball's not enough to get me to do it. Mm. And again, I left DW because I didn't have work-life balance. That small college football world was too much for me.
Okay.
So the NFL, there's no shot I could.
So you like being in the high school. You don't necessarily even think you'd want to do college again.
I don't ever want to say never.
Never say never.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would have to be the right college job. Either a situation where I'm working for someone that I know. Yeah. And I know that they have work-life balance, or a situation where I'm the head coach and I can have that. But I'm not going to just jump at a job. In all reality, there's high school jobs I wouldn't take around here.
Yeah.
I have a good deal and I know it and I want to be here. Yeah. And so why worry about any of that stuff? I mean, there's 40 head jobs open this year in the state of Utah.
Really?
Yeah. Because nobody wants to do this job.
They're done.
Yeah. And I'm perfectly fine being where I'm at.
But you love what you're doing.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm going to transition into family a little bit because you talked about family and wanting to have your work-life balance. And so you will bring your kids. So you have 2 kids. Yeah. Harper and Emmett, your son. And so you would bring him to practice.
All the time.
Yeah. And I thought that's so adorable. I think it's so sweet and the kids loved it. The high school kids loved it just as much as probably your kids loved being there with them.
Yeah. So, and it's not even just my kids. I mean, one of our coaches has 3 kids and they're running around at practice. And we have I know how much I'm taking away from my family and how much I'm taking my coaches away from their families and those kinds of things. And so if having kids running around at practice is that big a deal, we should probably find something else to do. It doesn't interrupt. It doesn't cause problems. The players love it. As long as, they're not actually halting practice and causing problems. And so why not? And that's always been how I've thought about it and what I wanted to do. And so when I got the chance to be the head coach and call the shots, that's what we do.
That's what we're doing. This is how we do it.
Yeah. And so it's awesome. And our wives have a group chat. Our coaches' wives have a group chat, and that's
like by themselves. Without you guys?
Oh yeah.
Really? Okay.
Like
because that's got to be different.
Yeah, like we have one.
Yeah.
And then they have one, and ours is interesting.
Yeah, sure.
But theirs is scary. Like,
yeah.
Like I don't know what's gonna happen with our wives.
You never know.
But it's good though. Like the other part of it too is like at the high school level, I do believe somewhat in the sense of like a team is a family, and you should care about it and whatever. Once you get to the college level, I think it's kind of BS. Mm-hmm. Like, you're going to say we're a family, but in all reality, if you fire me tomorrow, like, no one's going to bat an eye. Like, that's not Whereas at ALA, like, or even just at this level in general, like, it is a little bit more like that, and there's some things you can, and so why not do it that way? So, like, our kids come to practice all the time, and they just run around, and it's awesome.
That's awesome. I'm going to get hard. I'm sorry, and I'm probably going to cry.
No, you're fine. It's going to be harder on you than it's harder on
I don't know how. But we did have a hard incident that happened when they were there one time. And on our podcast, we like to kind of talk about some hard things that have happened and the things that we've learned from them. Obviously, him being there was not the hard problem. You know, that was awesome that you were able to have the kids all there. And I even think, like, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, the kids probably feel more like family because your family is literally there with you practicing, and they just feel like a part of this big unit. Mm-hmm. And I love that. But do you want to maybe talk about what had happened?
Yeah. So
with it,
actually 6 months ago today.
Today?
Yeah, and I didn't know that when I signed up to do this podcast with you. My wife just pointed that out to me today.
Wow.
So July 7th, my wife, she works at a girls' treatment center. She just does like grave overnight shift stuff.
Yeah.
Like watch.
So her sleep is kind of finicky at times or whatever, and Emmett also had like a tricky sleep schedule. Sometimes he'd be really good about it, and sometimes he wasn't, whatever, and so they had a late night, a long night. She got home from work at 3, and he was still up, and it was whatever. Gosh. And so it was just this kind of thing. And so I got up, and we had workouts at 6:30. And I live in Eagle Mountain, so there's like a 40-minute drive. So I had to be up pretty early, and they were still up.
Oh, my gosh.
Jeez.
And so I said, okay, I'm just going to take Harper and Emma with me. And Kayla can get some sleep and whatever. And it was kind of an argument almost, like, I'm just going to take him. No, don't take him, blah, blah, blah. I'll just take him. It's not So I just kind of took him, and we were running late, and so I was already kind of frazzled and whatever, because, like, when you're the head coach, you can't be late, because then you can't punish anybody for being late for anything, right?
Right.
And so Kayla went to sleep, and I had the kids with me, and it was just a normal day. And so we went in, we got to the stadium, and I don't know how familiar you guys are with the bunker at ALA, right? But like the football stadium, underneath there is like a building, like a concrete bunker built into the wall. And so we always park in the back and walk through the coach's office and then out onto the field. And Harper and Emmett, like, they'd been there a bunch. They'd been there. They spent the whole summer there with us. And so we kind of ran in, and the bunker gets really hot in the summer and really cold in the winter. Oh. And so we would keep...
Because it's just cement walls.
Yeah, it's not exactly.
Like, okay.
Yeah, and so we would keep all the doors open in the summer, because if you didn't, like, that's not safe for the kids to be in there. It would get too hot, and so whatever. And so the doors were open and stuff, and we went out onto the field, and we were just having a regular practice. And so we had a group in the weight room lifting and a group on the field with us, and we were just working on stuff, like football stuff. Yeah. And Emmett was with me, and actually one of our players had like an electric motorbike. Mm-hmm. And it was the last day of the week. Like, we were about to kind of be done and take a break and whatever. And so we had like music being played, and it was like Baby Shark and Gummy Bear, and like everybody was just acting like little kids. It was
like, it was family. It was a little family get together.
And so, like, one of our coaches was riding Emmett around on this motorcycle, and it was just this awesome morning, and we were transitioning the group. We were going to switch them. So the group that was on the field with me was going to go to the weight room, and the weight room group was going to come onto the field. And so Emmett kind of ran ahead, and the group came out, and I was coming in. And from the time I got from the field into the bunker, I was like, anybody seen Emmett? And everybody was like, oh, we haven't seen him, whatever. And so we were kind of, like, I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
there's 50
happening.
people here. Right. We spent the whole summer here together, whatever. And so I kind of started looking, but I wasn't worried. I figured he was probably in the locker room banging on the locker because they thought that was fun to drop the door on him or whatever. And so we kind of started looking around, and then I was like, man, I can't find Emmett. Like, and he was only 2, but Emmett looked like a 5-year-old. Like, he was huge. Just monstrous human. Yeah. And so, like, he was a pretty quick runner, and so I started to be like, man, I need to look for Emmett a little bit. And so we kind of just start looking around, and what ended up, like, just in that short transition, like, if you go out the back gate that we came in and you walk, I don't know, 30 yards to the right, there is an irrigation canal in the field out behind the bunker across the street. And so Emmett had walked across into the field and was playing in the field and kind of just being a little boy and being adventurous and playing in dirt and stuff. And he fell into the canal. And, I mean, we looked for him for, 3 hours or so. And parents showed up, and the cops were there, and everybody was just looking for Emmett. And early in the day, the cops had come and said, there is a canal over there. We checked the canal. He's not in the canal, so we're going to be okay. Okay, well, and they said, to be honest, with him being his age and his mental capacity and that kind of thing, and he's not in the canal, like, someone probably picked him up, and I bet we get a call from the station soon. I bet somebody says we saw this little kid walking around. Because
it's not it's not paved really. I mean, it's a road, but there's no sidewalk. There's so. And
so I, at that point, was just like, okay, we're gonna, like, we just got to get Emmett back. That's the most important thing, is that we get him back. And there was this whole other, like, side thing that made the day so much, like, this is a dumb thing to say, but, like, inconvenient. Mm-hmm. And that is that my wife's car had a flat tire. And so she was at home and had no way to get to ALA.
Oh, man.
And so I'm calling her like, yo, everyone and their mother is at ALA trying to find Emmett. And she's like, I got to get there. I was like, how are you going to get this? So then someone had to go get her, and it was this whole thing. And so we're all looking and everything, and then the cop comes to me and he says, we found Emmett. And the actual, like, it's crazy because I remember it all like super
vividly.
Yeah. Like,
sure.
I was standing out back. The cop comes up and goes, are you the boy's father? I said, yes. He goes, come with me. And I thought I was going to hear, like, somebody picked him up. We got a call. And I thought the cop wanted to talk to me because at that point, my biggest fear was, like, CPS. Or, like, why weren't you watching your kid? Or, stuff like that. And so he pulls me in and he says, we found your son. He's deceased. And we pulled him out of the canal. Actually, he didn't say deceased. He said, your son's dead, is what he said. And he said, we pulled him out of the canal. And I couldn't even comprehend that because they had already told me, like, he's not in the canal, right? And so I was just like, what? Like, and then I just, like, panicked. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, everybody wants to talk, like, you freaked out and you're so sad. And, like, I wasn't sad at the moment. It didn't feel real at the moment. It hadn't even hit me yet that was the case. And so I had sat there for a while, and I was, like, started to sink in. And at this point, I still haven't even seen Emmett. Like, I don't know where he is. I don't know what canal he was. I didn't even know there was a canal in that field. Like,
really?
Yeah, and so, like, it was just Emmett's not here, but apparently he fell in this canal that he wasn't in, and it was just this whole confused state. Right. And then in the midst of that, about 10 minutes later, same cop comes to me and says, they've been working on Emmett, get to the hospital. The information I gave you wasn't completely accurate.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, okay, so let's get to the hospital. Like,
oh, you're kidding.
And so one of our assistant coaches is from Spanish Fork.
Okay.
And because at that point, I didn't even know where the hospital was in
Oh,
Spanish.
yeah.
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 And so I was like...
Well, plus it's new, so...
Yeah, we got in his car, and I kid you not, like, there's no Disneyland ride to prepare you for the speed and the bond. Like, we hopped a median. We were going the wrong way in traffic. We went...
But, like nobody blames you, not even for 3 seconds.
Get to the hospital kind of thing. And so we got there. We ran in. I'll spare you guys some of the stuff. But I run into the room and whatever, and Caitlin got there shortly after. One of our other coaches' wives had picked her up, and so she met me at the hospital. And then we were just in there, and they finally were like, we've done what we can do for him, kind of thing. And so we stayed in there for a while, but then there was this whole other part of it that was our entire team was looking for him. All the kids were there.
Yeah.
So I've got 40 high school kids that had just been a part of this whole thing, and this is no longer just about us.
Yeah.
The whole community was there. The kids were there. The teachers at the school were there. I mean, it was... The news had broken the story already. And don't even get me started with the media, because...
Oh, dude, I can't imagine. Yeah.
And so...
Not helpful.
Well, just flat out wrong. Like, there were so many details about the day that they didn't get right, and it was just... And so we're in the room. They call it with my wife, and we kind of are dealing with that. And then there was this element that was somebody came in and said, hey, coach, your whole team, we have them in a classroom over here in the hospital. So I have 40 kids on my team in the hospital, parents, administrators, my boss is there, my coaches are there, and they're all just waiting to find out, like, what's going on. And so I realized very quickly I have to go from that room with Emmett and Caitlin, and then I've got to go do this and try to figure that out. And I had pretty much the walk to figure out, what do you even say to this? Because, like...
Yeah. And then me over here is like, stop. You don't do this. I will go do this. Like, I'm like over here wanting to, like...
But, like, the thing about it was, like, I didn't really care that it was my football team at this point, right? Like, I just knew... There are kids in here that know my kid. There are people in here that love my kid and that are invested in my kid. And, like, I have to go to be very careful and deliberate and say what I say, because these kids 40 years from now can't be afraid of what happened today. These kids, like, I was very aware of that, I feel like, which was... crazy because and you know, when I tell the story, it was all very calm, but like in the room was, I mean, there was roughly 15 nurses and doctors in the room working on him when I got there. Like there was a lot going on, and then you go into this room and it's just quiet, and so I walked in and everyone was there. I mean, I was like, what do you do? And so I kind of like just took a second. I talked to Caitlin a little bit and then decided to go in, and basically what I kept it short. I didn't feel like it was, let me sit here and talk to you guys for an hour and give you a pep talk. But in complete honesty, like, I told them, I'm going to get through this the way I tell you guys to get through things. Like, it's not a secret how we're going to handle this situation. I tell you guys every day that these 3 things can get you through football, through life, through school, through whatever. And I told them, like, you guys tell me how I'm going to get through this. And they had the answer. And that's what we left them with. I kept it short. And in that moment, like, it was almost relieving, like, oh, we've prepared for this. We have a plan for this, because it wasn't just BS when I said it to the kids in the weight room. It wasn't just crap that I said to make my players play better. Yeah. It was really what we believed in and what we said we were going to do. And so it was really easy in that moment to kind of ground things a little bit for those kids and not make it this big, overwhelming thing and put some like thoughts to rest and some things like that, because it was familiar.
Yeah.
And I think they believed that that's how I was going to handle it, right? And they knew that those were the things that were important to me. And then we went and got in the car and we drove home. And that was 6 months ago, and that's life, and that's what we do. And so every day we just kind of keep going, and you know that those are the things that I come back to. And Caitlin deals with it differently than I deal with it, and Harper naturally deals with it differently than I deal with it, and it's just this thing that we're all doing on our own together. And it's tough and it's hard, and I don't want to be like disingenuous. Like, I think some people always tell me like, man, you're handling it so much better than I am, or I can't believe you're doing, like, a lot of people couldn't believe I even coached football this year.
Yeah.
And that was like, and I don't want to act like I am like that. Like, I'm not still awesome and happy and great and whatever, but it's not going to stop just because I choose to be like, I'm going to go to work the next day. I'm going to have practice the next day. Like, the world doesn't stop because bad things happen to you. And we kind of, like, me and Caitlin were really intentional with our thought process that was, do you not coach? Or do you coach? Or what is the plan here? And I kind of got to the point where I said, well, if I don't do this, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like this, I can't be scared to go back to that football field because that's where we were when it happened. I can't be scared to go to ALA. That's my job. Like, I can't be afraid of being in the bunker. Like, and so those were things that we were really aware of and quickly got over. I took Harper to practice really shortly after that.
Did you?
Because I didn't want that. I don't want to lose that. I wanted Harper to grow up around our team. I wanted my other coaches to know that they could still do that. And so I didn't want to. And so we were just so aware that Emmett wasn't coming back. And so let's make it as good as we can. We're not going to fix anything. There's nothing I can do that's going to bring my kid back.
Right.
But there's been a lot of good that has come from it in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
We've been able to teach our kids by example. We've been able to bring the community together in a way that wasn't happening before at ALA. We've been able to, like this Christmas, we did a bunch of stuff where people like pitched in, and we have decided we're going to start paying for things that we would have paid for Emmett that we're not going to have to. So, like, we paid somebody's basketball fees this year.
Oh, cool.
We did Christmas for somebody. We're going to do Little League in the spring, and we'll do Scout Camp in the summer. Like, and so it's just like, just because the bad thing happened to us doesn't mean that we can't do good things still. And so that's what we do. And, you know, we also cry a lot.
Yeah.
We also,
which I think is so good, though.
We also look at pictures and stuff like that. I mean, it's tough, but it's also like, okay, if it's not, you know, the ultimate fix, the ultimate get better is, here's Emmett back, and that's not going to happen. Yeah. So how good can we get to, you know? And I don't know. We might be doing great at it. We might not be, but that's...
Well, and it may depend on the minute. It may depend on the hour or the day or the week.
So that's my Emmett story, and I don't know. I'm down. I know you guys were kind of hesitant to ask me about it or whatever, but I'm sure after all that there's questions. So whatever you guys, I'm here to talk about it. So let's
I think it's amazing that you just bounced into, amazing that you had this lineup of your eat, right? And said, how do you think we're going to do it? Because you already planted that seed, like you said, you know? And so it's an amazing testament of like the way that you are building that program from the get-go for success in all aspects of these kids' lives. Sorry, I told you, I'm going to cry. I'm just going to do it. So, anyway, I think that's awesome, and that you're able to do that. I remember I went to the visual that we did there, and
Yeah.
at ALA, and you and your wife like just came out in like little powerhouses, and I just like, I never met you guys before, and I just looked at you, and you could see like the strength that you guys have and that you have together, and I'm sure something like this can help and hinder in your guys' relationships as well, right? And so, but it was cool to see your united front, and not even just you and your wife, but you and that whole team around you and behind you, and other teams from your
LCA showed up. Yeah, they brought their whole program out with their coaches and kids, everybody.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Leighton Christian brought their whole football team out.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought that was really awesome, and something that you did too, that I lost it, but instead of having a moment of silence, what did you do? What did you ask him to do?
That was awesome, because when I was at LCA, like obviously I brought my kids to those practices at times too, and so those guys got to know Emmett a little bit and whatever, and so we played them this year. They came to ALA, we played against them, and we kind of thought about like, okay, if you're gonna do some sort of something, that's probably the best time to do it. It's a home game, and the away team's going to be somewhat understanding that there's going to be, some different things or whatever. And, I know those guys and stuff. And so we tried to figure out what we wanted to do, and we knew like the funny way to put it is like Emmett was never quiet. Ever. There was never 1 second where Emmett was quiet. And
Perfect little boy.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so we decided to just do like a moment of loudness. So what we did was at the end of the first quarter, we just stopped everything. Both teams went out to the middle of the field, and they read off like I'm burping, not crying.
Go for it.
I've tried not to.
I didn't even notice.
I'm crying, not burping, so whatever.
They read off like a thing about it, and actually the crazy thing to me that I never really considered about that is we chose to bury Emmett in Spanish Fork instead of Eagle Mountain or where we were going to be or whatever, because it was just crazy how much support we got from Spanish Fork and from the people in this community around here.
Wow.
And there was also like the kind of sentimental thing, like, well, the cemetery's not that far from ALA. Maybe he can hear the games, or maybe he can cheer or whatever. And so with all that, like, I didn't realize that like people didn't know that we chose to put Emmett in Spanish. But that was part of that night, was in that reading. They said that, and we actually got like a pretty good crowd pop for that, which was like, I remember just being like, oh, I didn't think about people being excited about that.
Yeah.
And then both teams went out to the middle of the field, and they just counted down, and everybody just went nuts. I mean, it was a solid minute, and they basically were like, be loud enough that they could hear you at the cemetery.
Yeah.
And the whole place just went crazy. And like, I think it was a really nice moment for a lot of people, but for me it was even more different because like, I think it's very apparent that you guys can tell how much I care about the kids on our team.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I had my kids, but the other team were kids that I had coached and cared for also. And so not only was it cool to have like my 35 kids, there's another 40 kids from Leighton Christian. On top of the cool moment, like I was standing there with 70 kids that I loved and cared about and knew, and like that was exciting enough for me.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Army around you.
And then just it was awesome. It was something I won't forget.
Yeah. That was very sweet. A very sweet sentiment.
Yeah. It's kind of things like, first of all, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, and thanks for being willing to share that. I think that there's a lot of strength in sharing that type of story, especially.
Yeah.
But it's little things like that, where you happen to be playing the team you just coached, that there's someone kind of watching out for you. I don't know, these like little signs and little things like that that kind of happen that are.
Yeah, definitely. And like
that you're still in the right place, or that I don't know.
Yeah, no,
and tender mercies.
Well, the crazier thing too, like I had yet, when all of that happened, it was in July, I had yet to coach a single game for ALA.
Yeah.
There had been no proof in what we were doing.
Yeah.
And there were multiple times. Like, I think our GoFundMe hit over like $23,000.
Wow.
We went down to the funeral home on Main Street in Spanish right there, and someone paid, like, we didn't pay a dime for his services. Somebody had gone in and paid for it. And, like, there was just so many, and not that money is what I'm trying to get at. There's other ways to support, but, like, in that moment, it was, like, very much like, hey, this is the place that wants us here. This is a place that cares about us here. Like, and it's not because I'm winning football games or losing football games.
It wasn't about that.
At that point, I was a completely defeated football coach. I haven't won a single game for these people yet.
Yeah.
But it just showed, like, these are the people that I want to be around. This is the place that deserves everything I have to get this program turned around. And that's why we put so much into it. Like, the people around here deserve to have a team that represents them. And I now know firsthand how special this community is. Yeah. And so I want to do my best to put together a team for that.
That's awesome.
And it's just wild. We're actually going to move down here soon.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. Cool. So our lease in Eagle Mountain ends soon. I guess I shouldn't tell people too much about my living life. I know. Well, I was like, our kids go to these schools. And we'll end up moving down here a little bit closer. So
awesome. Right on. Yeah, that'll be nice on your commute. And it's a great community, man. We love it down here. I never thought we'd live. We're from like American Fork, Highland Alpine area. And Salem always sounded like super far south, like super far away.
I know, you tell them and you're like, you like pretty much go to St. George. It's pretty much how far. You just keep going.
All the time. And sometimes it's not easy for me to want to go to like family parties and them to come here either. Sometimes there's some good in that too, but we thought we'd get far enough away that we would have to do some and not all, and I don't know. Now we just fight a lot. But no, it's good down here. What? We don't do that. But being down here, like, I don't know, it's a cool, there's a good vibe down here. Yeah. And it's growing bigger than we got like 10 more years here, and then we'll see what happens. But but it is full of like really awesome, just great, amazing people. Yeah. And it is cool to like, there's just a little stuff, like I love seeing a tractor drive down Main Street, or you know what I mean? And that's cool to hear that's the type of community that we do live in, because there's good people around here, but people that'll step up and help out like that. That's pretty special,
Well, and like a big part of like sorry to keep coming back to football, but this is just my life. This is how stuff goes. But like a big part of, like I said earlier, like 40 jobs were open in the state this year. Yeah. Why was I not looking for any of them? Because I have everything here that I want. I have people that support. I don't deal with parents. I don't have the big parent issue that everybody knows about when it comes to sports. Really? Yeah. My admin has my back on things. My teachers in the school, not only do they know me, but they know my kids. They know Caitlin. They know, like, we wanted to be at a place that we could do that. Yeah. And there are some schools that's not going to happen. Like, you set up behind, like, Lone Peak is too big a school for that to happen in the same way. And I'm sure there are special things about Lone Peak. Sure. I'm not trying to. Yeah. But it's just a different situation, right? And so that's why that went into picking ALA. That was something we were very aware of and cognizant of.
Yeah. That's cool.
Do you mind if I ask, like...
Yes, don't ask.
Okay.
No, ask me what...
Just kidding. No about, like, some things that the situation has changed for you. Because you did have your, like, initial, this is how we carry on. Yeah. But are there certain things with this type of situation where the unknown, like, how, know, anything that may have, like, come up that you didn't expect, or things that have been different than what you thought, maybe how you would deal, or?
I would say, like, there's no giant one thing, but there's so many little things now. Like for instance, when I had Harper and Emmett being crazy in public and running around and causing, and just, I would stress so much about it. And like Caitlin probably more than me too, but like we were very aware, like, don't let our kids be the ones that are being crazy and loud and stuff like that. And now it's like, let them run. Yeah. Let the kids go play. Like, in an hour and a half, we're all going to leave whatever function we're at, and no one's going to think twice about the fact that these kids are running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know, just like little things like, I have a friend, I won't throw him under the bus, but he has a bunch of kids, and they're pretty young, and when you say, oh, you have, anytime I've been around him where someone's like, you have that many kids, he goes, yeah, which one do you want?
Yeah.
And I just like sometimes I just want to look at him and be like, which one would you give up?
Yeah.
You know, just tiny little things like that, where it's just so much bigger than what other people realize.
Yeah.
Or like the other direction, like in a more positive spin, like I had a cousin that had struggled with like fertility issues, and shortly after the Emmett stuff, they got pregnant. And like the amount of joy that I had for them after that, like knowing how cool kids, like how much I love being a dad now, right? Because you don't realize how much you love being a dad until, hypothetically speaking, you're not, right? Like I don't get to parent him anymore. And so like just being so happy for them, or like when people in my life are, oh, we're having a baby, it's like, that's so awesome. Like I just am super thankful for that, which I don't ever think I was like absentee dad, but I don't think I really understood how great it is to do that kind of stuff. And so just little lessons like that. I mean, and you never know when it's going to come. Like, because, I mean, some people lose babies. Yeah. And that's tough, and I can't imagine that. But Emmett was 2, but he was also raised by Harper. And they're both incredibly smart, and just like Emmett would really develop speech-wise. He could talk to you and have conversations, and he had a personality, and he had things. Yeah, right. And so like every day you don't think about those things. And then now when those things still happen, because life happens, it's like, I didn't expect to deal with that today or whatever. Right. And so like, I don't know. I don't know if that even answers your question.
No, absolutely. Yeah, it probably is something that'll, like you're saying, is little things will happen probably continuously that will bring up, oh, I didn't realize maybe I'm going to miss that.
So, like, my whole life, all of my siblings and me, we all have brown eyes. Okay, and I was always, like, weirdly jealous of people with different colored eyes. I don't really know why. Like, that's such a dumb thing to
teach
but,
them.
like, yeah, we all had brown eyes, and, like, I have brown eyes and stuff, and Harper has bright blue eyes, and Caitlin has green eyes, and some people in her family have blue eyes and whatever, and Harper is also a girl, and she looks just like my wife. Like, Harper is cut and paste Caitlin. Yeah. And Emmett looked a lot like me. Like, a lot like me. And he had big brown eyes. And I didn't... Like, it was my job to put Emmett to sleep most nights. And when he would fight sleep and stay awake, and I would just be like, close your eyes, kid. Like, go to sleep, close your eyes, go to bed, like, whatever. And now, like, that's something I miss a lot about Emmett. It's like, that was my boy, and he had big brown eyes just like me. Yeah. And so there's just little things like that.
Yeah. How old's your daughter?
She will be 5 in March.
Okay. And how's she been?
She, like, because that's the other thing, like, when I'm going around looking for Emmett that day, Harper's in the back seat because she was with us at practice, right? Yeah. And where's Emmett? Where's my best friend? Where's my guy? Why are all these people looking for Emmett? And so now, like, she's so much smarter and more mature, might not be the word, but like developed to real world stuff. Yeah. Like, she will have a conversation with you about where Emmett is, or dying, or funerals, or therapy or whatever. Sure. Like Caitlin Harper is just like
grew up fast in that way.
Like really fast, and it's hard for her at times. Like she says stuff. I miss Emmett. Oh, this reminds me of Emmett. But we've done I think a pretty good job of being like, Harper, like if you miss Emmett, talk to us about it. Tell us what you miss about it. Or when she says, I miss Emmett, we say, well, what do you miss about Emmett? What's making you say that? And she's really come a long way in that front. And like we go visit him and stuff, and she gets excited to go see Emmett or whatever. Like And sometimes we have to like back her up a little bit and be like, hey, you don't need to tell everyone your brother died. It's okay. Like you don't need to talk about Emmett fell in the water. You don't need to tell people that or what, like time and place. And she's gotten better at that. But she's a tough kid. Yeah. Like Harper's tough. Yeah. And we talk about that with her. We talk with her about being tough.
Yeah, cool.
And I don't know. In all reality, she was probably ending up in therapy with just me being her dad in general, right? Like she didn't need this extra trauma. Growing up under my tutelage is probably enough to do it. But she's awesome. She's fun. She's funny. She's smart, and she knows that she loves her brother, and she also like is right now really excited to have another sibling at some point. Like Caitlin's not pregnant. I'm not like
I was like, no.
But she does know that like at some point we're going to have more kids. Yeah. And so she's excited about that because I can teach them this, and me and Emmett used to do this, so I can teach them that, and I don't know. That's sweet. That's a whole dynamic that's still really weird for me about having more kids.
Yeah.
Because like, I don't think the question is, do I want kids?
Yeah.
I think I definitely do want more kids. Okay. I think one of the big questions is how many?
Yeah.
And the other question is, do I want it to be a boy or a girl? I think about that a lot. Because I was so pumped that I had a boy.
Yeah.
So happy. Like, that's my guy. He looks like me. Mm-hmm. He likes boy stuff. We watch football and monster trucks and Spider-Man and like, cause Harper's very girly. Mm-hmm. And she loves football. Don't get it twisted, but she's very girly.
Right.
And I love that. And I don't necessarily love the fact that I'm the only dude in the house right now.
Yeah.
I'm very aware of that frequently. And sometimes I get kind of bummed about that.
Yeah.
And so there's part of me that's like, let's get another boy.
Yeah.
And then there's part of me that's like, I don't know if I can handle another boy that is probably going to look like me to some extent. That's probably going to like some of these things because I like those things, and that's why Emmett likes those things, right? And so that's a whole. Those are later Lance problems. Those aren't right now Lance problems.
Yeah,
but it's something that we think about and consider.
Yeah, and again, will be like a continual process of the journey of it.
So,
and I remember at the Vigil too, you said something to the effect of, we gave ourselves like 20 minutes or something like that to like go ham and let it all out, and then we need to move on. But
we had a rule that if you could keep these are the exact words. And if you can keep your shit together for 20 minutes, then you can cry for 20 minutes. But if you can't keep your shit together for 20 minutes, then until you don't get to cry. Like we can't just sit and wallow in this. Like we have to kind of be willing. And that was our rule for the week in between. So Emmett died on the 7th. I don't remember what day of the week that was. I think it's Thursday if I had to guess.
Okay.
And the funeral didn't happen until the next Saturday. And so there was like this weird week where no one kind of knew. It didn't even feel like a real week.
Yeah.
Like,
no real closure. Everything's
we still hadn't even seen him. Because there was a whole investigation and they did his, autopsies and other funeral stuff. And like, we didn't even get to see him.
Man.
So for that week, all I knew was I went to practice with my kid and I walked out without him.
Yeah.
And it was just weird. And that was our rule for that week.
Yeah.
Was like, we can't just sit in this house and cry every second of every day for this week. Like, we're gonna be sad right now, more sad than we're ever gonna be about it. But like, we do have to realize that we got to keep going at some point too. Yeah, and so that was our 20 minutes.
Kind of like a nice little trying to balance it. Yeah. Oh man,
that's probably healthy. It's like, man, it's cool that coaching, that you stood by your own values and showed that to your team, and then you lived them in your own house, and you can just tell that is something that's helped you. You know, the whole coaching thing, it just kind of all come around and helped. And one of the hardest things, or the hardest thing you've ever probably gone through, you know?
Yeah. I think like a lot of times people they like to give me a hard time, or it's like a fun joke. Like, Lance can't go more than 20 minutes without talking about football. Football's always, but like,
hey, there's worse things, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
Of all the unimportant things in this world, football's the most important.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I like it.
But what people don't realize is like, football, like, when my career took off, that's when I met Caitlin.
Yeah. When
I got my first real gig was when we had Harper. When we came back to Utah, we had Emmett. Yeah. When we've moved as a family, it's always been about that. Like,
it all revolved around.
My whole life is somehow associated with football in some way, shape, or form. And so like, people are always like, oh, you can't go 20 minutes without talking about ball. That's my life. That's how it is. And so like, this Emmett situation has been no different. I mean, other than the obvious, like, he was at practice with us. Yeah. We were working counter on the field. Yeah. Like, we were I can tell you the play calls we were, and Emmett was standing with us. Like, other than the fact that it was directly tied to football.
Right.
It was always going to come back to that somehow. Yeah. Right. And so I don't know, man. It was just seemed really easy and really seamless to transition back to my coaching philosophy to get through this, because we were there. I didn't have to take this part of my life over here and move it to this part of my life. Right. It was all in the same place. Yeah. And so it just felt like that was the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
awesome. Well, we appreciate you.
Yeah. Yeah. I talked way too much about myself for way too long.
Are you kidding?
No, you didn't, man. That's why we had you on. I was off my game today. I had a total point there I was going to make. I'm going to take that part out.
Oh, yeah. He's still like...
I'm like, what the hell? We were talking about something. I was like... I was joking about my little coaching gig, but there was a little point I was going to make there. It had to tied in with something we were talking about, and then it left my mind. So
some of the best football coaches I've ever met are little league coaches. Yeah. I'm not kidding. Like, and really? some of the dumbest coaches I've met are like big D1 coaches with jobs, and it's just like
the guys that helped me. Like, I really was just, like, they ran the kids on the... I had two guys that ran the kids on the field and everything.
They just couldn't be head coach because they were head coach to older kid teams.
Oh, they coached
other kids.
Yeah. And I don't know how they did it, man. Like, they went from our team's practice to their other kids' practice, and I'm like, I'm having a hard time just keeping up over here, you know? You get it. Yeah. But it was an awesome experience to like, those guys were real talents. Like, they actually knew what they were doing and understood football, and it's interesting to hear your coaching philosophy and how those guys did it, and they were both a little different. One ran offense, one ran defense, and I was just kind of the cheerleader there on the sideline, and then didn't really ever have to be the bad guy or the good guy. And they were young enough that the parents didn't. There was no real drama, hardly ever, with anything that I had to deal with. So that was nice. Yeah, I get appreciating that a little bit in the little experience that I have, but. Yeah.
Speaking of, what's like, if you're saying you don't have any parent drama, what's like the hardest part of your job, would you say? Because I would imagine it would be the parent drama, to be real with you.
Can I pee real fast?
Yeah.
No. I'm going to pee my pants, and I want to hear. Go. I'm going to push.
I will
just
wait.
Just don't answer that yet. I want to hear
it. Okay.
Okay. I'm like, throw out more questions.
I think I've been holding it for like an hour. And I'm like,
do it. Well, ask me about the other question, like the stupid questions, like the fact that I love wiffle ball. Or
Didn't you guys play wiffle ball for practice? It was like, I think I remember pulling through, and somebody was saying that, like, did you do it frequently? No, or was that just like a fun Friday something or whatever?
We, there's a YouTube channel. Shout out to Major League Wiffle Ball. It's these guys in Michigan, and I say guys, they're probably a little younger than me, but from the time they were 12 years old till now, where they've gone through college and they're established humans in the world, they've been playing in the same backyard wiffle ball league with the same people.
What?
And they film it, and they've gone on to do like marketing degrees, so the product has gotten better.
Oh,
and
stop! That's
awesome. It's become this giant thing. And I caught wind of it, and I got hooked immediately. And, like, one of the things we talk about a lot at ALA is make the big time where you are. Like, we don't talk about the things we don't have.
Yeah.
We don't talk about whatever. And, like, we've done some crazy things to try to make our program feel big time.
Yeah.
And their YouTube page was really the kind of that inspiration for that.
Okay.
Because it's like, this is a kid, like, we're playing wiffle ball. This isn't like, but they have like jerseys, and they play it at like, like they played their championship game in SoFi Stadium where the Rams play. It's like the newest, biggest
like, how did they get in there?
world.
That's awesome.
And so we all, on our staff, we all picked a team. And we supported them through the whole season.
Okay.
And so then, like, I had a team, all of our coaches had a team, and we just talked so much crap. And we'd watch the videos and the games. And so then,
that's awesome.
Then we started to think, like, hey, I've watched enough of this that I could do what they're doing. And turns out, like, it's really hard. And it's very,
I can imagine.
It's very impressive.
This is awesome. I'm like envisioning this whole thing, and I'm really excited about everything that happened.
and like, we, as a staff, that's the other thing. Is like, up until now, like, I've always been a part of really great coaching staffs.
Yeah.
But, like, when I was the head coach at Providence Hall, a lot of the guys on our staff were guys that had already been there.
Yeah.
And so that a big part of that job was getting them to buy into me.
Right.
Whereas coming to ALA, I brought people, and I had a bunch of friends and friends of friends and family that now all of a sudden I have not just friends, but friends that encourage my stupidity. Like, it wasn't just me watching wiffle ball.
Yeah,
everybody else, everyone else was like,
to the wiffle
that's
ball.
my team, and that's, and we would just go play. Like, we built the strike zone. Yeah. We put money into buying wiffle ball. Like, just, and it's just dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
but that, having that balance, like, makes it so much better. And that you get to hang with your friends.
Yeah.
You know, because you said you brought most of the staff, right?
Yeah, so, like, Hughie was my first hire.
And how do you know him?
So we were entry-level GAs at SUU together. We shared, like, an office smaller than this, and it was just, like, a storage closet. It wasn't even an office. Like, it was,
that's fun.
And I was on one side of the ball, and he was on the other, and we both just did all the... You know, we were the burrito boys. We were the pencil sharpeners. We were the
gophers.
Yeah, and eventually when I went to Dakota Wesleyan, he went to Southern Virginia. And so we both kind of worked our way up from there. So when I left, I was the offensive coordinator. When he left, he was the assistant head coach.
Cool.
And when I left Providence Hall, there was actually a job at SVU open. And he called me and was like, come on. And it just never felt like the right move to move to Virginia and whatever. And so it didn't play out. A year later, that entire staff got fired. And so the week I got the ALA job, Hughie got fired.
Really?
And so I called him and said, hey, your family's here.
Are they?
Oh, yeah. Like, you want to get back? You can come, do this with me. I laid it all out, and they moved across the country, and here they are. Like,
that's crazy.
And so then one of our linebackers coach was his best friend growing up. Our tight ends coach is my cousin that lives down the street.
Oh, cool.
Our receivers coach played for Hughie at Southern. Like, so we're all intertwined. Yeah, we're all intertwined, and that's why it's so easy to get us into these dumb things like wiffle ball or
play hard, work hard, play hard. Like, I think that's a good balance.
That's a good philosophy. Yeah.
Taylor Swift Tuesdays or whatever.
Yes.
Like, well, that's unnecessary, but sure.
Actually,
he's like, actually, it's not.
No,
it is not unnecessary.
Not for why you think that. Taylor Swift Tuesdays is one of the best things we've done, in my opinion, as a program.
Really?
Oh, let's hear it.
Because when I got there was such a stigma at ALA of what the football team was.
Yeah.
Obviously, they hadn't won in a couple of years.
Yeah.
It'd been really tough. It wasn't a good situation, whatever. And so I get in and I'm trying to convince these athletes and these people to join the football team. And what's the first thing? Well, the football team sucks. I'm not doing this, whatever, right? And it got to the point where even our kids that were on the team would like tell kids like, yeah, I'm not playing football next year or whatever. And it was just like this thing. And so on Tuesdays in weights is one of the only times where I actually got a chance where it was just me and the kids. I didn't have any other assistant coaches or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And what I did was we went and looked up the stats for Taylor Swift's downloads and her concert ticket sales and all these things. Mm-hmm. And then I said, okay, raise your hand if you like Taylor Swift. And of course, a room of high school football players are not going to raise their hands, right?
Yeah.
And I said, well, statistically speaking, someone in here is lying.
Yeah.
Someone in here. She's not doing billions of dollars.
Right.
Yeah.
And we can't get one person in here.
Yeah.
To admit that they like Taylor Swift. And I said, I like Taylor Swift. I listen to Taylor Swift all the time.
Yeah.
And from there, it turned into this lesson about life's too short to not do the stuff that you love. Stop pretending like you're not invested in things or that you don't love to do this or that, whatever. Like, if you're passionate about something, be passionate about it. But don't let somebody else yuck your yum.
Yeah.
And so then from then, it started turning into like, yeah, I do play football here. Yeah, we're going to be better this year. Hey, new coaches, this is going to be fun. And our numbers got better. And our kids started to walk a little taller and whatever. And then it turned into this whole other thing where
a little bit of pride.
And at practice we would listen to Taylor Swift music. And of course at ALA, like, it's not that big a school. So if they're playing music on the football field,
you hear it.
People know that we're listening. And they're like, what is the football team doing out there? Like,
yeah, you gotta make it fun.
And it's an opportunity for our kids to say, this is why we do it. We're out here because we love it.
Yeah,
we listen to Taylor Swift because Coach likes Taylor Swift. So that's what we do. Like, and it's been really good for us. It's
that's cool.
But it wasn't hard. Again, like bring it all back. It wasn't hard to convince my staff to get it on that. Like, it's just a bunch of us. Cool. Yeah, it's fun.
That's
awesome. Such a freaking huge lesson for life. Like, don't let anybody yuck your yum. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, just be you, dude. Life's too short to freaking be pleasing everybody else. Like, do something you like, and if I listen to a lot of comedian podcasts.
Cool.
And I literally, like, just today I was listening to one where they were talking about how there was two comedians talking on the podcast, and they were both talking about how their parents were like, what in the hell are you doing? Like, you're a loser. Like, go get a freaking job, go to school, blah, blah, blah. And, of course, a ton of these guys don't make it, right? But they were two that did.
Right.
And they're like, yeah, my parents one of them has just, like, popped off in the last year. And he's like, yeah, my dad just now is starting to change his tone with me. Like, his tune, like how he talks to me. And he's like, wow, look at you, like, taking off. And, and it's funny, like, you hear several others talk. And it's just like, if you feel a passion for something, whether it's Taylor Swift or football or whatever, dancing or singing the national anthem at football, freaking do it, man. Yeah. Face that fear. And it's something we all deal with, right? And it's so much easier to just get comfortable. We talked about some of that last week.
Yeah.
Trying to get out of our comfort zones and thanks for sharing that. That's cool.
Well, and now we have kids every week where, like in the weight room, we'll have a kid get up, and I've learned more about our players from it too. Like Briggs Nielsen, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's in the band at ALA. Mm-hmm. And he got up and talked about how he plays football, and when he's at football, people make fun of him for being in the band.
Yeah.
And when he's at band, people make fun of him for being in football. Poor guy. Like, guess what? I'm not going to stop doing one of them.
Yeah.
I love doing both of these. So, we have got a bunch of guys that do dance and football and theater and football and these things, and every week somebody gets up and talks, and so we get to know the kids a little bit better too because of it. So
way cool.
You have some really good
downs. Shout out Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Shout out.
Yeah. Well, some of the kids went. I know because relations, but they went to freaking World of Dance. Some of the kids, your players, they went to the World of Dance and tried all that out. So,
well,
I love it.
And like the other crazy thing about that is like the more you know with kids about that, like more stuff like that, it can help you on the football field.
Yeah.
So like Chris Marble, great dancer, incredible dancer, smooth feet, good hips, all these things. Like there were routes in our passing game this year that no one ran except for Chris because he was the only one with the wiggle in the feet and the smoothness and the ability to change direction like that.
Yeah.
And so there were specific plays and things that we did with Chris that only Chris did.
Yeah.
And we were good at that stuff. And so like the more you can learn about these kids and it's not hard. It's not hard to
That's
get
cool.
to know them, and especially when you have stuff like this where you're giving them a chance to talk, like it helps us on the field.
Yeah.
Is it true that some NFL guys did ballet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that some of them did that.
Yeah. It's really popular, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's wild, huh? How things
Speaking of specific players and stuff like that. So we are kind of like, people might think that we're like fair weather fans,
Sure.
but I think that we're more player followers than like actual
That's how I am.
team followers. That's what that was my question. Are you a player guy or are you a team guy?
This is going to sound like a big time loser answer, but I'm a big coach guy.
Oh,
Like
no.
when I-
Why is that a loser
Like
answer?
when I watch NFL teams,
Yeah.
like I do have favorite players and stuff, but
Yeah.
all the time you'll frequently hear me be like, man, I really like Sean McVay. I love what they're doing offensively in LA. Or,
Yeah.
you know, I like what Shane Steichen does in Indy with their offense or just stuff like that. And they're like, who are you talking about?
I
Like,
literally didn't know.
it's,
Yeah.
it's the play callers. It's the people that
Yeah.
aren't even on the field.
My buddy's a big Dallas Cowboys fan. Today, literally this
Yeah.
afternoon, just before you came, I asked him, I said, do you like Mike McCarthy? Like, there's teams that I kind of like. Was it McVay? Is he the Rams coach?
Yeah.
You said you liked him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him just because he's young, and I'm like, I want these freaking young dudes to kick freaking butt, man. Like, I cheer them on. I'm totally that.
And that's
way
been
too.
me too, because up until now, and I'm finally starting to get out of this, I'm finally starting to lose the adjective. And what I mean by that is people now just say that I'm a good coach. They don't say I'm a good young coach.
Yeah,
They
okay.
don't say, oh, you're a good play caller. Oh, you're a good young play caller. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You shouldn't.
I'm only 28, but I do look like I'm like 30 or so, so I'm starting to get there.
Yeah.
But at this point, I've coached for 8 years.
Which is some crazy.
And so for a long time now. And so, like Sean McVay,
Yeah.
kind of like just hoping that he does do a good job. When he won his Super Bowl, I was like, yeah, get one for the young guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he
Yeah.
like in his early 30s, right?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah.
And he's got like he's really good at he has like perfect
memory and
memory
recollection.
or whatever. Yeah.
Ugh.
Did you see that interview where they asked him
Yeah.
like what happened on this play? Like and he
stop.
was what happened with this quarter at this time, and he like
Yeah.
knew it, right? Something like that.
That's more popular than you would think, but not quite to that
Extreme.
extent.
Yeah.
Like
Speaking of,
what?
I heard something had happened, and like the last game of the season this year, and one of the kids got ejected, and there was like this whole debacle about it. Speaking of plays,
Yeah.
was it? He just I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
So
How dare you bring up the dirt at LA? You leave it there.
No, I don't think it's dirt.
Okay.
We were playing in our playoff game. We were playing at Providence Hall. It was in the third quarter, and they were on their side of the field. The ball was in the left middle. Doesn't matter. We were on defense, and Chris
See,
Marble.
this is the like perfect memory that these coaches have. Keep going.
Chris was playing safety, and that week we were playing a bunch of, just different coverages on the back end defensively.
Okay.
We were covering the pass game a little bit different than how we had, just trying to mix it up a little bit and not show them, especially because we'd already played Providence Hall that year. Mm-hmm. And so we just wanted to give some different looks or whatever. And so Chris's main job in that play was to kind of float and follow the ball and try to go be secondary support elsewhere. And we got a good pass rush, and Tui Fanua, a great kid. I actually coached him at Providence Hall. Good friend with his family and whatever, great kid. He rolled out to his left, and there was pressure, and he threw it, and it was kind of a high, long, slow, arcing ball into the end zone. And whoever was playing DB on the play had gotten beat. I mean, there was a kid standing there ready to catch this touchdown.
Yeah.
And Chris came in, and he hit the kid early. But he didn't launch himself. He didn't hit himself he didn't hit him in the head. It wasn't
like
the kid got up and stood up. It's not like he lit him up or anything.
Yeah.
But he was early.
Yeah.
And so, obviously there's flags. There should have been flags, pass interference, whatever. But they ejected Chris from the game.
Really?
For targeting.
Oh, that's right. You did tell me this. Yeah.
And I went out and I had some words, and I'm usually not like a big yell at the ref guy, but when I'm gonna go to bat for my guys, I will do that.
Yeah.
And my big gripe, I had two gripes with the play. One, in Utah, we don't eject kids for targeting because we don't have instant replay to go back and confirm that it was targeting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so even if it was, let's pretend for a second that it was targeting.
You still can't eject.
You don't eject him for that. It's a 15-yard penalty, and we move on with our lives.
Yeah.
And 2, when I asked the ref, what's it for? He said targeting. I said, well, did he launch? And he said no. And I said, did he hit him in the forcible contact, head or neck? He said no. I said, so how is it targeting?
So
and so I said to the ref, like, give him 15. And in all reality, it's a smart play by Chris. Take the 15-yard penalty over the touchdown and make it score. And they had just already made the decision that he was done. And I said, you guys just ended this kid's high school football career. He'll never play another snap of high school football because of this decision that you don't want to overturn or whatever. And I don't know why we're talking about this, but
No, it was just like, that was the one play that I heard that there was this big uproar over
it was
and whatever.
He's a senior, right?
He was done.
Yeah.
And
that's lame. Yeah.
It was tough.
Has there ever been like a coach? Sorry, we should like.
No, this is
I
great.
Just keep going.
Go?
I honestly like.
Yeah, do you?
I told her to ask you if your wife wanted to come. I didn't know if she would even be down. But if you guys ever come back and she wants to come, great.
Okay,
she's more than welcome.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I'm here to talk, so let's talk. And we can cut whatever down.
So as a coach, is there anything that you're like, man, if I could go back and change how I did that, or what, a certain what?
There's 2.
Okay.
One is kind of a broad, overarching theme, and one is a specific.
Okay.
I would focus more on learning the things I didn't know as opposed to pretending like I knew everything.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much for so many.
But there's some strength in faking it till you make it, right? Or no?
Oh, trust me. Like a big fake it till you make it guy.
Yeah.
I just would have faked it quieter.
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't have been so loud about how great
yes.
it was.
Okay,
yes.
I got you. Okay, cool.
And 2, I used to be very loud and animated about a lot more than I needed to be. I would yell at players more, yell at refs more, just be really loudly passionate about things. And now I've learned that doesn't really get you anywhere. And so I can just kind of relax a little bit more. And when you relax more, you're in a better
zone,
headspace. And like, I don't know. There's so many decisions that go into every single play of a football game that people don't realize. Like people think calling plays is like Madden.
Yeah.
These are
you don't want to
16-year-old
Madden
kids. Like that might be a great play that you think we should run, but do you know that slot receiver, his girlfriend broke up with him in 5th period today, and he's been a mess all day, and you can't depend on him?
Wow.
Until you do, don't try to call plays or whatever. And so there's a lot of it that goes into that. And I just spent too much time early in my career, like, being all uptight and create to even consider stuff like that. And now when I'm a little bit more chill, I can just zen into the game a little bit and make more conscious decisions of it.
See a full picture.
Yeah, the kids feel that too, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
if you're freaking out, they're going to freak out.
Yeah. And then they're scared or worried, and then it's just a whole different energy for sure. Yeah.
And then I just remembered that we had a pee break after a question I asked, and we didn't end up with it. Yeah, what's the toughest thing as a coach, or like one?
It was at ALA, right? Or like, what's the toughest part?
Or just in
general.
In general,
or in general.
So in general, the hardest thing about my career, at least, has been the lack of stability. I would say, I was at SU for 3 years, and that's the longest I've been anywhere. And so just having to understand, like, coaching is a very selfish profession. Like, you have to be willing to look your wife in the face and be like, hey, we're moving to South Dakota, even though you're 8.5 months pregnant. Like, that's tough. Like, and a lot of coaches don't make it because their wives can't handle it. And a lot of marriages don't make it because their wives can't handle the coaching world, right?
But then the wives just get a group chat.
And that was a big part of what we did.
That's right.
That was, we made T-shirts for all the wives this year that said "Dibs on the coach." Gave them those, and they do all sorts of stuff together. But
that's good.
Cool.
Well, so that gives them support outside of so that you guys can do what you need to do too.
So that instability is kind of the overall hardest part of my job.
Yeah.
Understanding we're probably not ever going to buy a house ever is like just something we're aware of, I guess, because you just never know what's going to happen. The hardest part about ALA so far has been changing the perception in the school. But I actually think that's been one of our biggest successes. Like, I think
that's cool.
We're going to have good numbers this year from a lot of kids that didn't play football last year that will play.
Good.
Sweet.
And now our current hardest part is going into year 2. How do we evaluate what we did in year 1, make sure we build on the good stuff and get rid of the bad stuff, and not just get complacent. Well, this is how we do things here,
Right.
Really evaluate it and have a plan, and not say, well, this is how we did it last year and it worked out. Like, trying to make sure that we're still improving into year 2 is tougher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Because there's also kind of, you're fighting your own ego a little bit. Well, everybody tells me how good it was in year 1, so I know what I'm doing. Let's do it. But if that's not what's best for the kids, or it doesn't fall under EAT, we're not doing it. And so just trying to evaluate all that stuff is tough right now. And that's where we're at right now in the year, is self-reflection and evaluation and making a plan for next year. So
yeah,
man, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot of mental work. It's like all mental work. You know what I mean? Football's physical, but especially with it sounds like with the coach, like, I don't know what I don't know. Especially when it comes to this stuff, but it sounds like there's a lot of, like you said, mental awareness and mental game going just as much as trying to get the physical in there.
Well, and like the hard part too is realizing that these are like kids.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for, like, well, the kids aren't bought in, or the kids are bought in, or whatever. Like, regardless, it's your job to make sure they're bought in. Like, and some people say that, well, we don't want our people to be externally motivated. We want internally motivated people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care. Let's just get them motivated.
Yeah.
Like, there's a level of that.
Give me 3 hours when you come. As hard as you can go.
And like, and so there's definitely a decision being made about a lot of mental stuff. Like, like our play calls are different than what they've been at other stops for me, because that's what our kids are going to do best. Our workouts are different here because that's what these kids can do. Because the goal isn't just to win football games. The goal is to win games at ALA.
Yeah.
And winning at ALA looks different than winning at Salem or winning at SUU. And so it's just all I do is just make decisions all day. That's pretty much it.
Which is my worst nightmare. Like, I don't know if you understand.
You got a
that
cool
is my
kid,
worst nightmare.
That's cool.
But
it's
I
cool
think
you can tell you enjoy it and are passionate about it. I think that's
And I think, like, I've worked with youth for a long time too, and I think that, like, you have it nailed down that it's not just that they just want to be loved, especially at this age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want to be seen and they want to be loved and feel like.
And consistency.
Yes.
That's it. They want to be loved, they want to be pushed, and they want someone to be consistent. And if you can do those 3 things, you got a shot. Like, you can get kids to do most things if you do those things.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if we're any good at it yet. Year 2 will tell us, but we're sure.
Well, if you have kids that are, like, coming in, you're saying that hopefully you're having more come next year. So seems like you're doing something right.
It's been
and you won a game. It was awesome.
So that game was, like, crazy too, because it was a road game, and so, like, the people at road games, and especially at Parowan, like, that's a far drive, right? Like, so the people that were there in the stands were the people that were really invested in our kids.
Yeah.
There was, like, sometimes at home games, you just have people that, like, go to the game because they go to the game, right? Like, but they're not really, like...
Yeah.
But, like, the people at that game, like, just the buzz, I mean, it was awesome. I mean, like, I've won championships, and it didn't feel as good as...
Really?
As that. And, like, Hughie jumped on my back at one point, and I fell over, like, to the ground. It was the least athletic thing I've ever done. And so, like the whole time, like, it was crazy because we were up pretty big. We scored 50 in that game, and it was like 50-28 or something like that.
Awesome.
And so we kind of knew we were going to win.
Yeah.
But, like, that last, like, 3 to 4 minutes where it was like, okay, we're going to we're going to win. Like, you could see, like... Some of our players are, like, starting getting teary-eyed.
Aww.
And, like, you could see, like, the parents were like, holy crap. Like,
awesome.
And, like, everybody was kind of like... And Hughie just kept, like, following me. I was like, get away from me. Like, we are not celebrating this thing. and part of that's just my paranoia because crazy things happen in games. And
Yeah.
And part of that is like, what do you tell kids? Like, finish what you start, like you said, right?
Yeah.
And so part of it is like, we're not celebrating until, but then you look back and there's people like hugging and crying and whatever. And I'm trying to just stay away from Hughie, and it hits zeros and the thing's done. And I'm trying to go shake hands, and he jumps on my back, and I fall to the ground. And I'm laying on my back somehow. I get on my back, and Hughie is just punching me in the chest, like celebrating that we won this game. I'm like, get off of me! Like, so then I tell people we didn't win a game after that because I didn't want Hughie to beat me up after.
You're like, I had to pull back.
Yeah.
By the way, that was a teacher that instilled that he was huge. Mr. Wimmer, my 6th grade teacher. He always talked about being a finisher, learn to be a finisher.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that always was stuck with me,
No, it's awesome, especially when there's more easy way outs now than ever before. There's so many chances to stop. And, like, we're hard on our guys. And early in the year, early at our time at ALA, like, we lost some kids. And it's like, hey, I'd rather them quit now and whatever. And you know what else happened? The guys that stuck around, like, we knew we could depend on those guys because
for sure
they finished. They were finishers, right? Like, so good times.
What do you think was one of the, speaking of just kids, this is going to be totally off. What's one of like the hardest challenges these kids are facing like right now? What do you think in general? Because you work with a big chunk of, I guess, boys specific.
I do think, like, kind of what I said earlier, like, the lack of people holding them accountable, but then expecting the outcomes that come with accountability, right? There's no one teaching them these things. They're holding them accountable. And I shouldn't say no one because there are people that do whatever, but a lot of them in general, these kids do what they want. And, like, the analogy I always use is, like, okay, well, so here's just a totally made up scenario, right? Like if me and my friends snuck out and went and TP'd someone's house, we would have to sneak back in the house. Like there was sneaking out.
Yes.
Now kids will walk out the front door, TP the house, walk back in, and when they get caught, blame the parent. And it's because they're not used to being held accountable. They're not that, like, these kids, like I said, they're dumb. They don't know that what they're. They don't know you shouldn't just do. You have to teach them that, and I don't think there's enough people consistently holding them accountable. And then on the other end, like, we do expect a lot out of these kids nowadays. Whether it's specializing in sports, whether it's, well, my dad makes me get straight A's, or I can't play, or whatever. Like, okay, we're expecting more out of these kids than ever been expected. Yet we're doing less to prepare them to succeed than ever before. And I think that's
consistency.
And like the kids don't know what to expect. Am I going to get in trouble for this? Am I not going to get in trouble for this? Can I get away with this? Can I not? They don't know. And so what are they going to do? They're going to find out really quick what they can get away with.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. In my opinion, that's the hardest part. And that's why we have a plan for most of things in our program. When this happens, this is how we're going to handle it. When this happens. And it's not always right. We have to tweak and adjust it and stuff, but it's easier to tell the kids this is how we're doing it and adjust it on a case-to-case basis than to keep them guessing. And so we try to be consistent as we can.
No expectations and that.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, we've took up way too much of
Dude, this is awesome. Thanks for coming in.
It was a blast.
Thanks for
having me. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming in,
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Good to get to know you better.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We're grateful to have people like you with our youth.
Yeah. Thank you for
having
awesome kids. Your kids make it easy. Your kids are never the problem.
Oh, yeah. We like to hear
because,
that. Wait till you get the next couple. We'll see.
No.
We got a couple more. They got to get through school still.
No.
Jess does a good job with them, man. I'm just the...
That's how I feel about Caitlin, too.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I'm just like, man, Caitlin teaches Harper how to read, and she's not even in kindergarten, and she knows her letters, and I'm just like... Harper, you want to watch this game with me?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me, man.
So
that's good.
No, that's awesome.
It's good to have that balance.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for having me. This was fun.
Yeah, you're awesome.
Yeah,
thanks again.
You guys.
Okay.
We'll see you.
We're back on again. We decided to not finish it.
Hey, 10 more questions.
They can't get me to leave.
We got talking.
Yeah,
No,
whatever.
I actually have the Traeger fired up right now, and I have a fat chuck roast on there, but I don't know how it's going to turn out. I think I cooked it too fast. You're welcome to stay and have some food if you want.
Okay. At this point, we should start feeding you. Exactly.
That's the only thing I looked at my phone for. Was like, I saw an alert for Traeger, and I'm like, okay, my meat.
Just turn it off.
No, I need it because I don't want to overcook it.
Oh. No, I thought I meant like turn off the Traeger.
Talking to me is not worth messing up your
it is.
Oh no, I can. Well, dude,
is.
since I got this new Traeger, the app, I can just hit like keep warm, and then it just shuts it off.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I just have to push a button, but we're good. We got easy another hour on that, so here we are for
No.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Okay. So earlier on, you mentioned your parents being younger, and I'm actually in the same boat. My parents had me when they were really young.
Okay.
Like my mom was 17 and my dad was had just turned 19 when I was born.
Okay.
So anyway, but I'm curious what your experience
when
was.
You say young,
you're the oldest you're the oldest in your family.
Yes, I'm the oldest.
I am too.
There's 6 of us.
Cool.
So there's 3 boys and 3 girls, and my parents are from this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. If you go to Reno and go like 2 hours south of Reno, you end up in Hawthorne. And Hawthorne is a square mile town. I mean, it is
legit.
And it's built like that. It's a square of houses, and the only thing keeping Hawthorne alive is
mining.
There's a military base there.
Oh, okay. Military.
And it's where they take all the old ammunition from the old wars, and they take the blowy up part out of it. I don't know what that means, but
okay.
And that's what really,
powders.
Yeah, that's what keeps the town going. And so my parents are from there, and in Hawthorne, there's really not a lot of options, right? And so my parents, my mom was 16 when she got pregnant with me. She had me when she was 17. And my dad is just a year older than my mom.
Okay.
And
she was 16?
Yeah, and then she had me when she was 17.
Yeah, so kind of like yours.
Yeah. And then, but my mom is the 12th out of 13 kids.
Stop it now.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Mormons?
My dad has
again, just small town. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah, fool around a little.
Might as well raise these kids and fool around.
Oh my gosh.
And so family is like, just whether you like it or not, it's a huge part of how we grew up, because I have so of the 13, 10 of them are girls. So I had 9 aunts and then my mom.
Holy cow.
And my aunts, they're tougher than a lot of the men that I've ever met. Like my aunts are big, strong women that will beat your ass and let you know.
That's awesome.
And that's just how we were kind of raised, right? And so when my mom had me, my mom was very dead set on not being a statistic, right? She didn't want everybody gave her a hard time and said that I wouldn't turn into whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my mom raised us kind of with that chip on her shoulder.
Cool.
I'll show you.
Oh yeah. And I don't actually think it was above and beyond, to be honest with you. But there were times where we would tell my mom, you're overcompensating.
Oh, yeah.
And in all reality, guess what? I turned out an upstanding guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have whatever. And so, kudos, Mom. But, if my mom told me, you can go play in the street until 4 o'clock, you got to come home.
Yeah.
If it's 4:01, I'm not going back out. I'm not going out tomorrow. My mom was
strict that way.
On it, and just we had rules just for the sake of making us learn how to follow rules.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a thing, we would have limits on our phones. We'd have to clean until we got it, or just I'm not trying to be I'm this terrible abused kid by any means, but we were very disciplined growing up because my mom was not gonna have shithead kids. Yeah. That was not gonna happen.
Good for her.
She had to prove, and I always joke too that I'm the glue that held our family together, because after I came, my parents got married and whatever.
Yeah.
That's not the case.
They're still together.
They are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
That's cool.
Yep. They figured it out. But the dynamic of it that's interesting is I have a sister that is roughly not even 6 months difference in age between me and my mom.
Okay.
And so my mom will make jokes all the time, like, who raised you kids? And I'll be like, you, also a child. Like, what do you mean?
Right.
Like, we were just dogs being raised by horses. One is just slightly bigger than the other one, but they're pretty much the same thing.
Oh my gosh.
Funny.
And it was a good time. Like, I have this weird part of my personality that is like, I can rap with like the best West Coast gangsters from the 90s, but also like we had a family home evening every Monday. And also like just like I grew up with kids as parents.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, like you learn a lot of what's really good and what's not. Like we had a rule that was you're allowed to play ball in the house. And not only were we allowed to, like we did. And when people came to our house and would be like, go outside, don't throw that in here, whatever, my mom would like jump people.
Really?
No, don't talk to my kids. Don't tell them what we're allowed to do. Like every doorway above a door was a basketball hoop in my house.
Yeah.
And hallways were just soccer penalty kicks. And and like we did that stuff. And there were holes in the wall everywhere and just like stuff like that. Because we were kids being raised by kids.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. And also like, but because of that now, it's like you look at my parents and I'm like, all right, well, they did it under much tougher circumstances than I did. And we all turned out relatively okay here.
Yeah.
And so I better not screw up my kids or I'm gonna hear about it from my mom, right? Or whatever. Like and we always give her a hard time and give my dad a hard time too. It's just like about like when you know the joke you say you like comedians, right? Like Pat Oswalt does a joke about like his mom critiqued everything he did as a parent, and she's like, "You turned out fine, and you did this, and you turned out fine." Sometimes you just want to look at your mom and be like, "I didn't turn out fine, Mom." Like, no, I didn't do that. But no, it's awesome. My parents are super cool, and like everybody just thinks like they're my siblings.
Yeah.
Like, cause like when they came to games and stuff, they'd be like, "Are you Lance's brother?" Or like,
how funny.
And it's like my dad, or like, and my youngest sister is like 12, I think now, or something like that. Like,
really?
I think she's 12. And when she was a baby, people thought that she was my kid with my mom.
Oh, really?
People thought.
Wait, the things just got a little different. Okay.
And it was just like
no, she's grandma.
Yeah. It was like a weird.
That's, crazy.
And like my mom has like purple hair and piercings galore. And like it's just a whole other dynamic to.
Yeah.
Kind of what makes us tick and what drives me as a parent too, and it's interesting.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
That's so funny.
I don't know if that was actually worth getting back on the mic.
No, I love it.
I'll tell you, like, dude, it was hard. We went through a lot of different stuff, and my parents they're divorced. Everything's good now, but what's kind of cool about it, I was actually thinking about this. I think about this all the time, but in some ways, my dad is more like a really good friend.
Yeah.
Or like a brother in some ways than he is. Like, he still does all the dad stuff. Like, I can still go to him for advice and talk to him about things. But I can talk to him just like you and I are talking here and be 100% myself.
Well, the reason that our communication is the way it is because you're about the same age as my dad. And so this is how I talk to you.
Yeah. Honestly. So how old are your parents? 50?
Yeah. No, my parents aren't even 50. Yeah.
40-something.
Like, mid-40s.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
So Maddie is actually like a year older than my youngest sister. My mom had one more kid.
Cool.
Like one more kid right after we had Maddie.
So this is fun.
So my parents are like 55 now.
Does your sister ever remember a time like where you were around or like obviously not living together, right?
No,
yeah,
no.
like I'm just starting to realize that that's the case where like my youngest sister doesn't ever remember a time where my wife wasn't like my wife, and I was like, so much happened before you were around.
Yeah, like
so
his younger sisters.
My dad had 2 daughters with my stepmom, and the youngest one, Olivia, she was just telling me the other day, she goes, "Do you realize that you and me are the same age difference apart just about as you and dad are?" And I'm like, I don't know if I've ever thought about that really, you know? I'm like, that's crazy because, and then her older sister, my other sister, Jessica, it's funny because I have a sister named Jessica. And
that's my name.
2 Jessica Hewletts, and they both have the same birthday.
Oh.
Which is wild.
It was
but
really...
just different years.
I went to the hospital and I was giving them my birthday and everything, and they're looking at me like, "What?" And I said, "I am not 8 years old having a baby." Like, no, I'm like, you know what I mean? It was one of those. Pulling up her records.
It's funny because there's been different conflicts for different reasons in our family. Do you have mixed family and different crap happen and whatever. But I had to kind of explain to them one time, I'm like, hey, like, I remember when my mom and dad, they were divorced by the time I was like 5 or 6, but I still remember living in Arizona as a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, and like having both of my parents together, and like you said, there's so much that happens before they came along. Like there's this whole history that they don't even realize is even there. But it seems like a whole lifetime as a trip, I guess it's wild. And so that perspective kind of helped. I think it helped heal a couple things and fix a couple things with different family stuff that was going on. But
we've all kind of taken my youngest sibling under our wing a little bit to make sure that like all the stuff we had to learn, even though she doesn't have to learn it anymore, we still make her.
Yeah.
So like
I think it's so good.
We took her iPhone away and we made her learn how to text on a T9. Like,
it's like not your parents that took it away. It was older siblings.
Yeah, or just like stuff like that where it's not necessary that she learns it, but we had to learn it, and you're on our team, and you're not on. Like my parents made it very clear early on, like it is mom and dad versus the kids, and we are gonna have each other's back, and you're not gonna play this whole. Well, mom said this, and dad's like, no, it's mom and dad, and it's us, and we knew it.
Yeah.
And because of that, like we've kind of made sure that my youngest sister, like, hey, you're the only one in the house and you live with mom and dad and things are a little different, but don't get it twisted. Like, you are on our team. And like one of those we did, like every year we would do April Fools really big. And like our parents would prank us and we'd prank our parents. And now like Claire has made it her job to like keep it going because she's the only one at home. And so like one year we took the couches out of our living room and we put them right back where they went, but on the roof of our house.
Stop.
And so when my mom and dad came home, all the furniture from the living room was on the roof.
Oh my!
I guess you can get away with that in Arizona.
Yeah,
or flat roof.
Yeah, and so there was that. Or like one year we turned everything in the house upside down and laughed, and there was just like all these things, and then we all grew up and left, and most of us are married now, and Claire's just kind of there, and so now like. We spend all year texting me and Claire different ideas and pranks and stuff.
Gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
And like last Christmas, we went in and I told her that we should just start putting celebrities in all the family pictures on our house. Like little cutouts and just put them in there because like my parents aren't going to notice. It's a big house. It's empty at this point. And they kind of go to their room and come out and whatever. But But Claire took it a step further and she got a picture of a Cheeto. And then she put Danny DeVito's face on it and made it Danny DeCheeto. and started just putting Danny DeCheetos in random places of the house. And so we were just down there for Christmas.
I want to be in your family.
We were just down there for Christmas. And you like look on the wall and there's like this nice family picture and in the back is Danny DeCheeto. Like sitting in there. It's just stuff like that. And so like cool. We try to make sure that Claire doesn't miss out on
that's cool.
on being one of us.
That's so
How
cool.
was the next? What's the age gap?
Because she's 12, right?
12?
Yeah, so me and my sister are 15 months apart.
Okay.
And then there's a 3 or 4 year gap.
Yeah.
And I have another sister, but then my younger brother is almost exactly a year apart from her. So it was 2.
So you almost have like 2
and
different.
Then a gap, and then 2, and then another 4 years, and then my youngest brother. And then there's like an 8-year jump, and then it's my sister.
Okay.
And so
8 years.
the 5 of us all kind of grew up together.
Right.
And then Claire was a baby, but like she doesn't remember a time when I lived in the house with them. Which is just insane. It's like it's the craziest thing to think about. But
yeah, you feel like you're old now or something. That's
dude. Every day something else makes me feel like I'm really old, and I have to remind myself I'm like 28.
Yeah,
I'm not even close. No, that's it. It was fun growing up. That I always tell people that my mom was like a Law of Moses mom. Yeah. Where she would punish us based on whatever we were doing that we shouldn't have been doing.
Yeah.
Like if you run your mouth, you were getting soap in your mouth.
Yeah.
Or if you hit your brother, you're getting duct tape to your brother. Or like whatever. Like there was just stuff like that my mom was awesome about that like you probably shouldn't emulate and continue to do, but you're glad you learned the lesson so that you can parent accordingly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Listen, I don't see what's wrong with duct taping you to your
I
brother.
just want to specify, I never got duct taped to my sibling. We did have to, like, you ever have to put your nose on the wall?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And stand there,
in
like,
a corner for
there
sure.
were definitely times where we had to put our nose on each other. Like, our noses had to, it was, that's not an exaggeration. We did not get duct taped, but we did put noses on each other.
Nose to nose.
Frequently.
Give him a hug. Give him a kiss,
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
I saw one, speaking of your, like, pranks, there was this, I don't know, probably a TikTok that was going around recently that these siblings would come over. They came over for a Christmas party, and they were trying to see who could get the biggest item out of their parents' house to re-gift them the next Christmas without them noticing.
That's awesome.
And I feel like
That's what we need to
should be
do.
a good transition.
That's a really good idea, actually. That's awesome.
Isn't that so funny?
Do your parents take it pretty well when that stuff happens? Or
Yeah, because they get us back too. Like our parents
okay.
would always like, it's just like we were better at it than my parents were.
Yeah,
right?
No
But
doubt.
like,
more of you. And
yeah.
The creativity was just
And they
fun
would
today.
just like I remember one year they would do our lunches for us, and like I opened a bag of Cheetos and it was a bunch of carrot sticks that they like they'd opened it, put it in there, and then hot glued
Sealed
it back
it back.
together.
Oh my
Yeah, it was
gosh.
just dumb stuff like that. We were way better at it than that.
yeah,
But
dude, furniture on the roof.
the
Yeah,
couch
oh
on
my
the
God.
roof, the actual
How did you even?
yeah.
How?
So we only had one ladder is the crazier part too, and it wasn't even like a folding ladder. It was one that we had to lean up against
Stop.
the roof. And so my brother went up on the ladder a couple steps, and I picked it up and handed him the front. And then we kind of just pushed it up the ladder. Like we weren't actually lifting. It was just kind of at an angle that
Yeah,
was
just like
Sliding up.
the hardest thing about that was getting it down.
Yeah, I was just gonna say
Because
the opposite.
my mom was like, haha, good one, this is hilarious, took the pictures, did
Okay.
the stuff, and then she's like, okay, get it down, I'm not doing this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was significantly harder. Not getting a couch dropped on you was
Yeah.
not ideal, and we knew we were busted if we broke it.
Yes, I was
It
gonna say.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But you did successful.
Yes, yeah.
Put up and take down.
Yeah, and like, I mean, we did a lot of dumb stuff where we ended up getting hurt too, and like
damn.
that wasn't one of them. But my mom had a rule that if we got hurt doing something dumb, that our punishment was she would fix it. She wasn't paying hospital bill for doctors to fix our stupidity. And so that always kind of
Helped you think twice, maybe.
Yeah, like I mean, we did dumb stuff and we got hurt. Like I fell like 30 feet off a boulder in Rock Canyon when I was
Oh
like
my
13
gosh.
years old. Just
30.
yeah, like I was unconscious before I even hit the ground because my head hit the rock, and then I rolled down the mountain. It was this whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
And then we went to the BYU football game that afternoon.
She's like, well,
No
here it
way.
is.
Oh yeah, like
Just like had a concussion and just went, or
yeah.
what?
Yeah, I mean it wasn't that she wasn't.
You didn't break
concerned.
any bones or anything?
No, I had a chunk out of the back of my head, but that wasn't too bad, and my back was pretty scraped up, and I was bruised up and stuff like that. But
Oh my gosh.
I was
dude.
okay.
That's crazy.
I was fine.
Yeah.
It's only a flesh wound.
Kids are really.
Yeah,
Limber
and
and-
like it's not that they weren't concerned about our
Sure,
well-being. They checked us out and made sure, but like it was my
You were
fault.
fine?
Yeah, I
Oh
was
my gosh.
fine, and we just kept moving. Like
Dude, that's
so
crazy.
playing games in the house and
Oh, I can't.
wrestling on the trampoline. Like I know my sister, she got a trampoline spring through the knee,
Oh,
and they did take her in to get stitches on that one. But like the couch was not one of the many issues of growing up with
Yeah,
five
yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
dude. That's funny.
I can't.
I will actually get out of your house now.
No,
you're
you're good.
It's
Thank
good to
you.
be with you.
Yeah,
man.
see ya.
Thanks. See ya.